time for the SMITE Circuit Playoffs. Fitch here, joined by Lermy. We're going to be starting off in EU today, taking a look down, sadly, at those lower bracket semifinals that are going to be happening here first. But Lermy, so far, these circuit playoff games have been exciting. I mean, there were some great sets yesterday. I'm excited for these matches today as well. Lermy here with us. Hey, either way, we'll get to hear from you. I'm confident a little bit later on. So talk about this first schedule that's coming up here first. It's Papis and Pika Renuubs as that first match. Papis actually having a great set earlier on, going all the way to 3 games. Couldn't quite figure it out. Pika Renuubs as our SOC team, unfortunately, so we're struggling there with them. But we'll see how it is that they end up doing a little bit later on. Belt Slap at Snake Pit, another matchup they're going to have to take a look at. And then over in North America should be another exciting matchup as well. Baskin and the boys, you got to want to see how they end up playing up against Gaunt's Tahiti, as well as Hype Unit up against Froggy. So certainly some exciting matchups are going to be happening here in this Challenger circuit. Obviously, the reason I'm looking forward to this Papis Pika Renuubs matchup is this is toward that elimination level, right? Whoever ends up dropping in this one will be out of the tournament. You can see that they're down there in that lower bracket. Belt Slap and Snake Pit, I think to no surprise, are the ones looking comfortable up at the top of the upper bracket. Meanwhile, Pika Renuubs and Papis down there in the loser. So if they end up dropping here, they are out of this tournament. This could be the end for them, surprisingly enough, if we were to end up losing one of these two teams here. So I think that probably most of us are leaning towards the SML team, the SML EU second place team, rather than Pika Renuubs, the SOC team, who might not be 100% as used to working together as some of these SML teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you thought yesterday was exciting, today is going to be even better, right? Because everything is on the line for these guys in the lower bracket. If they lose today, they are out of this tournament and out of the running for some good money. So as long as they're able to get through this next game, they're still in the running for that dub.
You're exactly right, and I think that that's what's going to make this so difficult for Pika Renuubs. They're playing up against Papis. Is there a team out there that's got more synergy than this Papis squad, man? They've been playing together for such a long time. It feels like at this point they're comfortable in their own skins. And we already know here in Europe that these are the teams that are willing to be a bit more patient, that will fight when they feel like they've got the advantage, when the time is right for their comp and their draft. Anything in particular you're expecting from Papis here today, Lermy?
They certainly do know how to play that in-and-out style, right? That's kind of their MO, but unfortunately, yesterday we saw them get a little bit wishy-washy on when they wanted to go in and when they wanted to retreat. So as long as they're able to kind of make those decisions a little bit faster, a little more on the money, I think they definitely have a very good chance of taking these guys out.
I think so too. I mean, if you respect the Papis body of work, then they gotta be the favorites, at least in my mind here. But I don't want to completely discount Pika Renuubs just yet. I mean, this is not a team that I know maybe as much about, but Davey is a player that's been around for a while. We've seen Alka in and out. Obviously, Rapio has been playing for a while too. These are not nobodies that just washed up on the shore. These are good players that could, if Papis aren't ready for them, take them the distance.
Absolutely, and this squad has been around the block, as you mentioned, and not only that, they still have proved, even recently, the fact that they were able to climb up through the SOC to be able to make something happen in this tournament at all. And I mean, of course, it was not the best matchup for them yesterday, going up against Belt Slap. That's just a team of absolute all-stars, of course, but this time, this match will be significantly closer. So as long as they're able to play their game, we're going to see something great today.
Yeah, I gotta feel like this is the match they were most getting ready for, where they most felt they realistically had a chance to start moving through this bracket. So let's get ready for the picks and bans for game number 1. Papis up against Pika Renuubs, and it's gonna be Papis in that first pick spot. Now, I wasn't able to watch a lot of these games yesterday, but I did notice that we weren't quite seeing the exact same trends that we might be used to in the SPL. What are some differences you've noticed in what the SML has been willing to value, maybe as opposed to what's up there in the SPL?
I mean, of course, it's been all about the Kuzenbo left and right in Europe at the very least. That's what they favored, at least in the last land. So coming into this one, the Turtle is better than ever, honestly. So I think he's definitely worth that first place slot. And we've seen characters like Sobek kind of be up there too. So, of course, you've got the things like Yamoja and Nemesis that are definitely up there. But at the same time, I think going tanky first is always the way to go.
There's a lot of good damage options out there, and I think the pool for frontline a little bit more narrow, so I'm right there with you on that one, Alermi. So far, these bans, though, I think fairly standard, at least the Olarun ban is. You maybe don't always see the Hobwob band up this high, but a very strong pick, and those that can play it well, you do not want to have it. So I think this would make some sense to me. Cthulhu also very strong, especially if maybe you're worried that your coordination is not at 100% already. You need it to be almost perfect to take down someone like Cthulhu, so I got no problem making sure that one's banned.
Yeah, with this Hubwab ban, like you mentioned, I'm thinking that Papis want to go for a first pick Nemesis, and as we saw in the clips, Marcus clearly likes it, so if that's their game plan, Pika Renuubs needs to take it out here in their last ban, because if they don't, Marcus might just pop off this game.
Could be scary. Nemesis is so strong right now. I mean, I know that there are some changes coming for her, but Slice and Dice feels so strong, difficult to have to avoid. She's able to stack those slow. She's hard to commit to with her mobility and her shields. Just so strong right now in general. Save for Persephone. Gotta ban her. I don't know if there's a better mage anywhere out there. I want her first and foremost. She gets to keep fighting when she's dead. I don't think anyone else gets to do that. So yeah, you gotta ban Persephone.
Yeah, Nemesis is going to be taken out there, but Yamoja is still available, and if anyone in EU's got a sick Yamoja, I'm giving it straight to Draco Marino. So if they don't pick this first, I'm going to be very surprised, but instead they go for this Kali. I mean, okay, I can understand the thought process. Kali is that hyper carry that you want to put Marcus on, so prioritizing it here certainly is a good choice. At the same time, what are they going to be giving up for that? I mean, there's so much on the table right now.
It does feel like there's some strong options out there, right? Rom, largely considered the best hunter in the game, especially in a world where Cupid is banned, would make an excellent top pick. You already covered Yamoja, and I don't know. I'm glad you defended it, because I sure wasn't going to defend passing on her. I mean, that is, I think, the best support in the game, the best god in the game, according to Slaney, and I like to agree with that man. So that certainly could be getting locked in here at any point. They'll take the Rom right away. I imagine this would be going over to Davy. And this god's so strong right now that Odibo build, or not Odibo, but Silver Branch Bow with Odibo in it sometimes, Atalantis, whatever it is that you want to do to get your attack speed up. It's so strong. He's able to contribute with those snipes from safety too. Rom's about as good as it gets if you want to play Hunter.
Oh yeah, and as long as you want to be obnoxious up against this Kali, you slam lock that Khepri. So I love the immediate response from Pika Renuubs to say, yeah, I mean, you picked a hyper carry for sure, but this hyper carry is not going to be getting any kills on my watch, and not especially up against a very safe hunter like Rom, who, like you said, can just go up in the sky and wait there for a very long time to just wait out destruction or whatever it might be. But on the other side, again, is something picked up here to funnel kills into this Kali. The Sobek is a very prioritized pick here over in EU, so I'm glad to see them go for it.
Yeah, you know, I like the funnel that Yamoja creates, but I suppose that Pluck is even better. So these are the two Guardians we're going to be going into battle with. And here's the thing, Yamoja's excellent, but I think she's very hard to play. I think in terms of high reward, she does come with some risk. In terms of you got to make sure you're getting value out of Riptide, everything else too. And if you're more comfortable on your execution with Khepri and Sobek, then I'm going to line up with you. This is a huge game. This is a huge set. And you want to make sure you're coming in with your best foot forward, especially if you're going to follow up with the Amaterasu. If you're picking in the tier list everywhere else, then I can sign up. Best hunter you can pick, best solo laner you can pick. I'm on board with Pika Renuubs.
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised that Ama wasn't the pick here over the Thoth, and this is an especially bad matchup for Thoth, because if he's forced to use that evade and punish very early in an engagement, Amaterasu says, hey, I'm switching to speed stance, I'm zooming right at you and pressing the 4 button, and by all means, he's either forced to use actives or he is just dead. So I'm going to be incredibly terrified as this Thoth.
So I guess they think this is Sobek solo then, right, over for Creed? Because they're still banning away the Yamoja. That's sort of the only way that I can think for it. So they clearly were thinking that Yamoja was an option, something they could pick, just not worth going at in their top 6 picks. So just making sure that if Poppies are trying to get some flex value out of this Sobek, that they don't get to lean it over into the Yamoja. And it's more than flex value. They think this Sobek is definitely going solo. They banned the Geb as well. So that's the idea then. Now what Guardian is left for you if you're Poppies? If Pikarinoobs are so sure this is solo, where would Papis want to go for their support?
That's a good question, right? They could go for something physical. We've got things like Hercules, Erlang Shen on the table, but of course, even if you want to go for another Guardian, double Guardian's not bad either. Grab yourself a Ganesh, put something else in there like a Xing Chen. There's so many options right now for Poppies that those two bans, of course, are very nice, but with that Sobek on the Poppies draft, you've already got your Engager. You want something to keep your backline safe.
Oh, it's the Bakasura. It felt as though Papis thought that Pikarinoobs are going to go early game. They banned the Robin and the Thor, two gods that can have impact way before Kali, obviously. But it looks like Pikarinoobs are going to try and match them at their own game. They're picking Baka, who's similarly pretty slow to start the game, alongside this Kali. You know, it's so funny. I feel like towards the start of Phase 2, we were worried that these sort of basic attack assassins were going to take over. We never really saw that materialize. Instead, here they are showing up in the SCC Circuit playoffs.
Yeah, they certainly have been showing up in the past. There's plenty of reason to pick these guys up, and though Baka doesn't necessarily get online all the way until the late game, that Eat minion is very, very strong when it comes to invades. So if Rapio is able to get these invades off very consistently, pressure the red, pressure the back camps, make sure that he's on these timers consistently, that's going to be robbing a lot of much-needed farm for this Kali. So I like the decision here, and especially if he's able to throw down the Regurgitate and stop her from running away. That's a good look in my mind.
These are two really good drafts, though, now that they're coming together. Look at the control that Papis are going to have between this Sobek and this Kuzenbo in these team fights. It's going to be difficult for Pika Renuubs to really get a whole lot done trying to fight through those Guardians. Thoth, his range is unchecked at this point. Even Hera, who's pretty good at sending Argus out to do her work for her, not going to be able to match what this Thoth can do. Which way are you leaning, though, Lerman? I mean, you got the Kepri to stop him on one side, but you've got all this team fight potential on the other side.
Yeah, it's very hard to say. It really is going to depend on how well Pikarinoobs play this early game. If they're able to at least bide their time to the mid-game, I think they've got a chance at this game. But on the other side, if Papis get to go longer than 20 minutes, definite W for them.
I mean, it's hard to vote against a Kali Thoth in the late game, right? Hachiman, not too bad either, especially in a world where Cupid's already been taken away. But you got the Ram, the Ama on the side here for Pikarinoobs. Kepri only gets better as that game starts to go later. So this is potentially a scary one here for both of these two teams. Got to make sure they're executing. Maybe going to be slow throughout the start of this one as well, because not a lot of early game junglers here on the table. But game number one here in the cards, Papis and Pikarinoobs. Let's go ahead and get down to the action.
Thanks, Finch, and exactly as you said, should look to be an absolutely action-packed game today. I'm BlazyBud, as you can see over there on the side. I'm joined here by my beautiful co-host, Mifflin. Hey, Miff, how you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing all right. Woke up a little bit earlier than I'm used to, but it's for a good cause. I'm always happy to watch the Papis, especially when they're coming up against a team like Pika Renuubs.
For sure, and Papis have been really, really interesting to watch play this year. They always are, really, but coming out of SEC, second seed at the moment, we'll have to see how they're going to come up against the SOC first seed Pika Renuubs. What kind of things are we looking to see from these two teams here, Miff, as we get into the game?
Well, I expect we're going to see Rapio just spend the entirety of the early game trying to get that farm online. He's likely going to back around level 4 to finish up that Golden Blade. Bakasura's main strength as a jungler is his ability to outpace every single other god in the jungle as far as farm goes. He should be clearing every single buff. He should be able to farm up mid if he so chooses. I consider him kind of the Yanis of the jungle, just because he's able to maneuver the map so quickly. On the other side, with the Papis, I think the mainstay of their aggression is likely going to be locked within that duo lane. They really want to play around Warchi. He's been having a really good showing this weekend on Hachiman. He plays this god in a non-traditional way. Usually he's considered Jingwei light. I want to sit in lane, wait for some farm, hop on the horse, run away. But Warchi likes to use that EI jutsu to get in a little bit aggressive. But as far as both jungles go in general, should be relatively passive.
Well, Marcus definitely choosing to prove you wrong there, as he's going to blink in, get a nice double stun, but not quite enough damage to mark the kill just yet, but making me eat my words. Cheekio coming up with a Cheekio steal.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate play there. You can't get double stunned in general. I mean, Kali getting a blink in with the immediate stun onto 2, never really going to result in a good play for your team, and then we just see Pikarino not really respecting the damage output coming in from Thoth there. Just eats up the root, takes all the damage from the first ability as well. It just seems like they're not really quite able to respect what Papis are bringing at this point in the game. And now, with Thoth getting first blood, not exactly the position you want to be put in, especially when Kali's your jungler.
For sure, and, well, maybe not even looking to stop at first blood, as Oka looks like he could be under some duress here in the left-hand side, but he's going to be just fine. But going back to what you said just a second ago, maybe it wasn't so much about respect, but more just like, oh my goodness, this amount of damage is happening? Like, I personally wouldn't have expected that much from a Kali and a Thoth at a minute and a half.
Yeah, he's gotta be ready for these sort of situations, especially considering that is a little bit of an unorthodox start as well for Thoth. Normally he'll pick up the third ability and the first ability just to help out with that wave clear, but he knew that he had the kill potential.
Well, definitely not understating his value there, as you said. Very surprising to see. But, well, showing his exactly what you were telling me that he was going to do. Watchy going aggressive with that Iaiutsu over there on the left-hand side. Getting Papis the purple buff here on the respawn. That's going to be really big for these two players.
It is, but one buff invade doesn't really make for a lead. You gotta get the subsequent buffs. The first one's just kind of testing the waters, and now it's gonna open them up in a position where they can try and look for continual invades and try and keep the pressure on the enemy gods. I think purple buff in general is a little bit lower value as far as general jungle buffs go, so what you're really opening up is an opportunity for your own jungler to rotate over, have Marcus come through, help you out with that invade, potentially find a kill. At any point, if they're able to close the gap on this Khepri, especially in the early game, this dude's going to be a sitting duck. Free kills, if you ask me.
Free, you say? Well, I'm not so sure about that. And in counter to that invade theory, you know, it might be difficult trying to get that loop of invades going when Rapio, as you said, is so good at securing these camps. So all that Pikarinoobs really need to do is, hey guys, purple buff's about to come up. Can we make sure that we're here? And then Rapio can go, ooh yes, breakfast time.
Anytime where you can like control the positioning of the enemy jungler, you're always going to be at the advantage, especially considering this Bakasura is slowing down his build a little bit. Instead of being able to finish up that golden blade, he backs to base, picks up boots too. So if he is forced to rotate over to purple, he might just get outscaled at this point in the game, especially considering Marcus is going a much faster build, picks up the Ninja Tabai, likely going to be moving into the Crusher next for that additional attack speed and pen. I think right now the Poppies are looking to push this early game lead.
Potentially, and when they're already able to do that with such a late game comp, it's fairly, to use Goremeister's words, stressful for Pika Renuubs when they're already starting to feel this pinch on a comp that, in theory, should have at least some sort of advantage early, especially in the duo lane.
Yeah, it seems like Pikarinoobs kind of missed their opportunity to really work the early game. Bakasura, we know he is a lot better come late. You want to get all those items online, become the chainsaw that you were born to be. But as far as early goes, Kali, much worse. Rapio's going to have the additional benefit of getting just passive power from leveling up Butcher's Blades, but now he's got to spend a lot more time just farming up the jungle, and Marcus is allowed to do things like this.
Yeah, well, beautiful Sun's Blessing there from Khepri to get his jungler out of a tricky situation. Rapio's going to escape with his life, just barely. And that's going to be really, really good, although apparently not satisfied with that outcome. Looks like Draco Mourinho's looking to send Rapio to a watery grave, but thanks to some support from the rest of his team, he should be out just fine. Now it's Marcus here, who might be out on a bit of a limb, but thanks to the rest of the Papis being here in this left side jungle, I don't think they're going to have too much trouble, as Davey now the one in trouble, all on his lonesome against 3. No ultimate available for Khepri, and Davey's going to be the first to fall here in this engagement.
What a low commitment engagement for the Poppies. First, they force off the Scarab's Blessing, then they're able to rotate in aggressive, chase down Rapio, steal away the red buff, take away Bakasura's beads, and then take Davey's life on the tail end of it as well. The Poppies are controlling the pace of this game absolutely completely, and it's not exclusive to that side of the map. Even over here in solo, we're starting to see a slight level disparity start to grow. Creed's been doing a very good job of controlling the Totem of Coups, and that's not generally how you'd expect this lane to go. Amaterasu versus Sobek, she should be able to get a little bit of pressure over there. The fight-in potential to sustain should be favoring Captain Odie, but it seems like Creed's just absolutely manhandling him.
I mean, you could potentially point to the anti-heal on the 3 for Sobek to kind of counteract some of that sustain from Captain Oti, but I completely agree with you. You know, there's no reason that Amaterasu should be... Well, I hesitate to call it losing this lane, but definitely losing out on the pressure, as you said. Creed once again taking the Totem of Ku right before our very eyes, and now about to help his jungler with the Totem of Blue.
The Totem of... Alright, yeah. That's the blue buff, gang, where it gives you mana when you pick it up. I'm really looking at Pika Renuubs to try and make a proactive play now. They need to try and slow down the pace, slow down the bleed, if you would. Rapio's been doing a very good job of farming up his jungle. He finally gets the Golden Blade online. Unfortunately for him, this build is still going to be a lot slower than what we're seeing coming out from Marcus, but just the passive power that he's getting from Butcher's Blade should allow him to find some pretty good fight opportunities in the early. They can't get out-rotated their own red, though.
No, and well, that's exactly what's going to happen here. Ulka's going to be the first one to fall down, but Rapio trying to make something happen alongside his ADC.
Nice
the minions from Rapio going to help pick up Chikio with some help from the Astral Barrage coming through from Davey, who hits all 3 of those shots to really facilitate that kill. That was very, I would caution to say lucky for Pikarinoobs there, but very, very fortunate that they are able to pick up that return kill, and I think support for mid laner, I could be in a less happy situation.
Yeah, it's definitely worse places to be in. Pikarino, though, stepping up a little bit too far into that tier 2 tower. Unfortunate for him, 8 minutes in, you're tier 2. That's not safe, but dropping the Argus is going to get him out alive. This is such a strange pace for any SMITE game.
Yeah, but it's almost like an odd mix of EU pacing and NA pacing, where there are kills or there are like these fight groupings happening, and either there is 1 or 2 kills in these engagements, so they're very, very short but very decisive, or just nothing happens and everyone gets out, just a couple ultimates start flying.
Man, 2,000 gold in the lead, 9 minutes into the game. Tier 1 tower down for Pikarino's in mid, which means once the Papis get a couple more levels under their belt, I'm thinking level 11, level 12, around that second active point, they can immediately move into the Gold Fury, force this advantageous fight where they should have not only the level advantage, but the relic advantage, and if Pikarinoobs try to rotate in, they might be caught in a situation where they have no tower to retreat to.
I completely agree with you here. Watchy just in the left-hand side, forced to ult away. Definitely should be looking at Rapio to try and make a rotation now and capitalize off of that lack of horse.
It would be nice for them, but even then, Rapio's got to spend so much time in his own jungle just making sure that he gets that farm. And with the Papis continually putting pressure on this red buff, we could be looking at a 3rd invade attempt as we see Draco Marino start to motion his way towards that direction. We expect Rapio's going to want to save his ultimate for that, but luckily, for the first time, Pikarinoobs are going to be the first ones to their buff, and they easily confirm it for themselves. Meanwhile, the rest of the Papis just going to be farming up the map. So far, Creed's been left alone on an island and he's been benefiting from it. Marcus has been doing a good job not falling behind a Bakasura, which is something we should absolutely be commending. This pressure the Papis are putting on is now continually growing. That 2,000 gold lead is quickly approaching 3K. They've been doing a good job controlling the neutral objectives as well. These oracles are going to be very important.
For sure, and I think it's something that we've seen from Pika Renuubs against nearly every single team that I've seen them against so far, is that it doesn't matter how well that they seem to be doing, they're always just slightly behind. We nearly see a pickup on Pico Marino there from a very nice final judgment from Chikio, but damage not quite there. Rapio trying to follow up and make something happen alongside his solo laner, but Oti just going to be able to find a quick dash onto Draco Marino. Not really much else after that.
Now Rapio's in an interesting spot where he wants to invade, but he's been surrounded by the enemy team. He's going to get caught out by a couple of Guardians. Should be alright for him, but Warchi losing out on his ultimate as well. Pikarino are doing a good job keeping pressure on the map.
For sure, and it looked like he was trying to chase after the enemy ADC there, but thanks to a nice Scarab's Blessing, going to be able to just get out fine, although the same cannot be said for the one who bestowed it to him, as Ulka is going to take another spill.
That's the failing of Khepri in the early game. Now he's about to level down. He hasn't quite finished the Thebes yet. Now that he's dead for the next 5 seconds, Papis don't care. They'll fight inside of a ward. Gold Fury should fall relatively quickly. No one on the side of Pikarinoobs is really in any range to control this objective. Unfortunate for them, the Papis with this late game draft are continually oppressing them in the early.
Yeah, and it's kind of sucky to see, you know. Pikarinoobs, they haven't necessarily been playing bad so far this game. I mean, we are only 11 minutes in, but it feels like so much has already happened. They have been getting, well, I say they've been getting these trades in fights. They got a trade in a fight, you know, that's something. It's something.
Yeah, Rapio, always going to find at least 1 kill, as he should on the Bakasura pick, but he's spending so much time on this right side jungle, not even finding the farm. This might be what he was looking for.
Potentially, but thank you to Watery Grave from Draco Marino. He's going to stop the jungler from regressing onto his mid lane Friendo. And thanks to a little bit more peel and that push into the wall, going to force the entirety of Pika Renuubs back. But look at this, they could be looking for a Pyromancer instead.
But Creed spots it out instantly. He's going to try and rotate his way in. They could still take this fight. It's a pretty easy confirmation for them with the rotation forward from Alka, just creating the space, not allowing Creed to move in. That's a good play from them. I would have liked to see Creed commit himself a little bit more, being level 14, having a ton of tankiness online already, and the ultimate. He doesn't really have to move in an attempt to steal the objective, but he could certainly have slowed them down or even just deterred them from trying it. Warchi, reprising his role in that Tier 1 tower, hasn't left it for a single second this game, and he's been allowed that opportunity because we haven't seen Rapio on this side of the map unless red buff has been invaded.
I do want to point out that Papis don't actually have any vision as far as I can see in that left side jungle, so if someone did decide to try and rotate over, Warchi could be all out on a limb, but does hold on to the horse, so I suppose Hachiman is really one of those characters who can really afford to sit at the Tier 1 tower without wards, because the ultimate just gets you so far down the lane.
It does, but with so much movement speed online for Rapio already, the passive, getting a couple katanas as well, I think that he's got the opportunity to not only chase down the horse, but potentially just blink to catch up with them, things like that. It's not necessarily safe, even though you are safer, not safe. I think really, we're seeing a lot of hesitation from Pika Renuubs in general to put pressure on that side of the map, because we're already seeing that Warchi's established a lead. He's very strong at this point. We've got a lead on Draco Marino as well. It's just such a strong duo lane that it seems like they'd rather take their licks in mid, look for the 3v3.
Well, not just in the dual lane. It looks like there is a lead just about everywhere you look, other than potentially in the jungle, though I'm not 100% convinced that Marcus isn't just bordering level 14. Well, there you go.
Yeah, they both tick over to level 13 at the same time, and this is the same thing. Rapio playing Bakasura has been clearing out his own jungle so incredibly quickly that despite the general map state, the objectives in favor of Papis as well, Tier 1 and a Gold Fury, it's just Marcus is having a very hard time establishing a lead, but that's not his job. He's playing Kali. If he's staying even or even one level behind at this point in the game, he's in an absolutely fantastic position. His eyes are set on the 25-minute mark and nothing else.
Who do you think... Okay, so Marcus, right, Carly, very much a, I'm going to choose one person, and they will die, and then I'll move on to the rest of the team. Who are we looking at Marcus to just try and kill every single time, as Davey is definitely going to be the first person to die under his Tier 1 tower in just a second.
And Captain Odie picks up a kill on the other side of the map. Warchi does pick up Davey, as you called out. If I'm Marcus, anyone standing in front of me is fair game. If I've got destruction available to me, preferably I'm taking out the Hera. Pikarino needs to go down. He's going to be the mainstay of damage, but it seems like they got that under control.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like Pikarino is going to have any trouble falling down, as look at that damage there from the final judgment. Thank you once again to a nice Scarab's Blessing from Alka to save the life of his mid laner. These Scarab's Blessings have really been a highlight of this team so far. But over here on the right-hand side, looks like Marcus is putting the enemy team in a blender. Pika Renuubs, they already lose one, and I'm not really sure Captain Odie can get away here. Carly's angry. She's looking for some more food on her plate. Dashes should be down for both of them at the moment. I'm not really sure if Marcus can get in, but the blink is going to be good. Here comes the damage, saves the jump, but the dash is going to be good from Captain Oti, and the juke away to the other side of that wall should find him safe with that speed buff.
I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about, though. Anyone standing in front of Marcus is going to be fair game. He's got the hasten, he's moving into the kin size, he's already got the crusher, he's hitting his power spikes incredibly quickly and has a level lead on a Bakasura. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, well, it's exactly as you said. I don't really have anything to add to that point, as over here in the left lane, Papis definitely looking like they want to add to their list of kills. Draco Marino doing exactly that, putting another notch onto his belt alongside his ADC, but Alka answering back with the tick damage from the big solar ball of death.
It's a nice kill for Alka, but it's really a nothing gained situation. You still lose out on your Tier 2 tower. The Papis with the aggressive positioning on the left side of the map can get the Gold Fury Primal as well, which is going to help them out with Fire Giant once they get to that phase of the game. Rapio's doing the only thing he can do. Well, I can't defend versus 4 on my own, so I'll see if I can strip away some buffs. Maybe take away a blue, back camps as well. Surprised to see him not try and go for that speed buff invade. Maybe didn't think it was available just yet. He's doing his best to try and maintain farm. If no one's in solo lane, that farm belongs to me. I need to get my items online, because it's really going to be on Rapio in the late game. He's the only one on his team that can easily address this Thoth. He has to get into the back line. He needs to be the one to shut him down, because if Chekio is allowed to free farm or free cast in a team fight, there's no way Pikarinoobs can win.
For sure, and it's almost unfortunate for Pikarinoobs. Well, I say almost unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate that Pyromancer only just spawning here. It does look like they're going to be able to pick it up for free anyway. So I guess my point is null and void, but I was going to say how Rapio could have definitely looked to pick up the Pyromancer whilst Papis were focusing on the Gold Fury.
But we're still looking at a 6,000 gold lead, 17, 18 minutes in the game in favor of the Papis. Taking a peek at the levels, we're rapidly approaching the point where Fire Giant needs to be a very real concern of defense for the Pika Renuubs. I think we're going to see the Papis potentially continually group up and take these team fights inside enemy towers if they so choose, just because 18 minutes in, we haven't seen a single time that Pika Renuubs are really able to put up a solid defense. But Fire Giant as well is going to be a very easy objective for them to burn. Warchi with a Heavenly Banner is going to be able to boost the attack speed of his team. Marcus is going to be an absolute chainsaw. The best confirmation ability on the map is going to be the Final Judgment from Thoth. Chekio, absolutely going to be playing very well around that. The only thing they have to worry about is where is Creed going to zone and who is he looking to keep out. You got to keep Captain Odie out. If he gets in, he's going to be able to disrupt the backline. If Pikarino gets in, he might be able to look for a steal attempt, but it seems like it's a solid wall of defense right now.
Well, potentially, but you can't discount the snipes from iDavy, probably the best seal tool that they have at the moment, but he does reach up to the sky already, but it is in service of picking up Chikio, who's going to be the first person to fall, thanks to Rapio playing that role perfectly, doing exactly what we needed him to do, and now being all out on a limb all by himself. Creed is going to fall down as well. And now with two members down, I think Pikarinoobs could be in a decent position to look at the Fire Giant themselves here.
And we've still got Argus available. Alka still has the Scarab's Blessing. It's not going to be easy for the Papis to put up a defense, but a lot of their offensive tools on Pikarinoobs are down.
Ooh, three beautiful crits from Warchi, gonna force Davey into a bit of an uncomfortable position, but steps a little too far forward, gets caught up by Oti. The silence is gonna prevent him from dashing away, and with some help from the jungler, he's gonna put another nail in his coffin. Still surging forward is Draco Mourinho, maybe bolstered a little bit by his comrade in arms, Marcus, being with him, but I guess it was enough of a intimidating play to make Pikarinoobs run away.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision from them, with the majority of their ultimates being down and a couple of the relics on Captain Odie being down as well. They don't really want to commit themselves to a team fight where Marcus has got destruction available. He can just move in. If he just picks up one kill, Pikarinoobs would have been likely forced off the objective as well. So I think if they just reset, use the time that Warchi's going to be dead to again get the aggressive positioning around the Fire Giant, pick up a little bit of ward coverage as well, this is a much better team fight for them.
For sure, and that's exactly what they're gonna do, though they're not looking for the Fire Giant in this situation, they're looking for Draco Mourinho. He stepped a little bit too far forward and got melted by all 5 members of the Papis, and it looks like they're fairly happy with just picking up that kill for now. Now Olga, looking aggressive, does find the pull onto Creed, but thanks to a nice assist from his friend, he is gonna get the tail whip and dash out away. Pikarinoobs once again in a 4v5 situation, but not looking to press anything here.
Yeah, Pikarinoobs doing a fantastic job picking up that pick onto Draco Mourinho. Now they're looking for a little bit more in mid. Chekio taking a lot of damage is going to fall to Davey. That's 2 members down.
And it could look to be a third or even, well, an artificial team member to say the least. Tier 1 tower is going to be made short work of here. It's going to fall down, and now Pikarinoobs potentially looking to back off and continue this Fire Giant tango that they've been perpetuating the last 3 or so minutes.
Yeah, Pikarinoobs are in a very fortuitous situation in that they came into this Fire Giant dance completely down, 6,000-7,000 gold, and the Papis have been very willing to just hop on a conveyor belt, roll in one by one, take a very aggressive pull on the Fire Giant, lose some lives, show up again, lose some lives, show up one more time, we're going to keep dying. If we want the Papis to continually use their lead, they still have got about 5,000 in their favor. They need to group up as 5, get some wards down, play defensively, go for some picks, look for some long-range poke. Utilize the tools that you have. Chekio is playing Thoth. He's got the longest range in the game, and he's dealing immense amounts of damage just because he's got Divine Ruin online, Soul Gem, Soul Reaver. His poke potential is so high, and there's just about no sustain, or team-wide sustain, rather, on the side of Pika Renuubs. But instead, it's been this all-or-nothing play style, and they've just been losing out every single time.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's a bit of a matter of lack of peel, as both of these front lines are looking to go aggressively onto Pikarinoobs rather than staying with that backline, but it might work out for them this time, as Captain Oti taking a big chunk of damage from that final judgment, but it's going to turn around. Big two-man stun from the Dazzling Offensive. Titanfall's going to come down. Rapio's going to be the first person to fall, but health bars are low all over the place. Warchi going to get one for himself. Pikarino, though, answering back, does manage to find the Thoth. But now the health bar's definitely favoring Papis, especially with that reset from Marcus, picking up his target in Alka. Draco Mourinho on the side picks up the ADC. Davey falls. And now it's all down to Pico Mourinho, who's going to get blinked on by Marcus, but no Argus available for him. And look at him go. Marcus is a human blender, and down falls the last member of Pika Renuubs. Deicide. That's going to be a tier 2 tower, maybe even a Phoenix, and maybe even a Cape.
20 seconds left on the nearest respawn being Alka, 20 seconds left on Rapio as well. I don't think they will look for the end here. It would be a little bit risky for them, especially considering how slowly this Phoenix is burning. But with Bakasura not spawning with ultimate, they might have been willing to just attempt it themselves. Reset now, get ready for the Fire Giant, get that ward coverage. Force Pika Renuubs into the same situation that you were forced into yourself just moments ago, in that they're going to have to send individual members in to defend this Fire Giant. It seems like instead of resetting, they're going to immediately go for it themselves, but 3 members rolling in. Pyromancer's looking like a little bit more appetizing on the menu. That was all it took. The Papis, for the first time, grouped up as 5, hid behind Draco Mourinho, waited for him to find the pluck. Chekio immediately follows up with the ultimate, and then from there, Captain Oti, the recipient of all that damage, was forced to use the Dazzling Offensive. Alka has to use the Scarab's Blessing. It just forces them into a fight where they're in the advantage, and the Papis are looking much better.
Well, potentially, but Pika Renuubs apparently didn't get the memo as they're looking for this, but the steal from Papis is going to be good. I'm not really sure what the plan was there. Chikio's going to steal it away, but Rapio looking to find something in return, but I mean, this is looking pretty devastating as a third member falls from Pika Renuubs, and Davy's just barely struggling to get away from the big crocodile man.
Yeah, that's looking like a GG to me. Pikarino and Dave are the only ones available. Davey no longer has beads. A little bit trigger happy with it. Fire minions flooding down mid. Pikarino still out of position behind the entirety of the enemy team. This Titan should fall fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Destruction, no savior play coming up from Pikarino. Argus already falling. Titan's already on 10% HP. It's already dead. And only 25 minutes into this set have we got our first win. Papis, they were playing well the entire game. We thought we could see a bit of a swing back from Pikarinoobs, but Papis showed them who's boss.
And the Papis were in control the entirety of the time. The only time we saw Pikarinoobs really make a resurgence was around a couple of misplays around Fire Giant, but with such a huge lead, I mean, you don't really have to worry about 1 or 2 misplays. It immediately cleans up for them. Marcus, man, this dude is an absolute Beyblade chainsaw, man murderer, sociopath, whatever you want to call him, because anyone that had a heartbeat and was standing within a 5-meter radius didn't have a heartbeat much longer.
Yeah, for sure. And a bit of a perplexing cycle there from Pikarinoobs, just continually going back to the Fire Giant and going, we can take it, guys, it's fine, we got space, and then being denied over and over again. But we'll have to see what our analysts think of that game in just a few minutes. But for now, we're going to go for a break.
Talk to me honestly. I'm here. I'm here. Talk to me. I'm here. don't know when I changed. Your voice replaying in my mind. I'm not prepared this
Welcome back to the SMITE Circuit Playoffs. We're in the middle of Pika Renuubs versus Papis, and that first game went about as you would expect, at least insofar as Papis won it pretty handily over Pika Renuubs. But the way that they got it done, I think, is anything other than orthodox here in this one. Marcus, and let me get this right, I believe Mifflin said this very specifically, the Beyblade, Chainsaw, Man, Murderer, Sociopath, whichever way you want to call it. Marcus popped off here on this Kali. And Lermy, talk to me a little bit about this, because I don't think you're supposed to be able to just run the early game as Kali. Where did Pika Renuubs go wrong?
Not only just Kali, Finch, it was Kali Thoth that had the early pressure up in that mid and jungle, and the fact that they were able to get pressure, man, I mean, Pika Renuubs need to come back here into game number 2 with a little bit more of a game plan, because it really just seemed like Marcus, man, he was taking every single advantage he could find, pushing into every red buff, and really having no fear. It just seemed like this man did not respect his opposition, because he's going in.
He certainly played that way, right? As if daring them to prove they could stop him in some way. And until he saw them stop him, he was not going to stop. There was the fight where he chased down Rapio in jungle near his Harpies, just basically 100 to 0s him. Luckily, Alka's there with an ultimate. But then they didn't have it later on when they needed to help them out. When Davey was in trouble, that's what Marcus was really doing. He's putting pressure on some of their best team fight abilities, too. Alka didn't know who to save and win. Davey somehow lost pressure up against Warchi. Warchi was able to come up in between his tier 1 and tier 2 and body him there. It was all over the place where Papis had pressure, and you're right to point out Chekio. He started off this game with that first blood, so he was certainly a part of this pressure.
Yeah, I mean, can you really be mad at Papis for first picking this Kali? I mean, clearly they had a reason that they wanted it so early. So, I mean, if they're able to get this pick in game number 2, this is going to be very, very dangerous for Pika Renuubs.
Now, Lermy, since you brought it up, I feel like I have to explain that unless you think they're taking the Kali, you can get that same value from it in third pick. First pick doesn't give it any buffs. But you're right. Certainly, if it's that good, make sure you have it on your side. But I am excited to see how these picks and bans might change, because things were a little bit odd, right? We saw this double Guardian composition be coming out with the Sobek and the Kuzenbo. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that necessarily again. I mean, it certainly worked for Papis, but what about for Alka? Has Kepri seemed to struggle? It wasn't sure where to go on the map either. What would be the adjustments you want Pika Renuubs to make, if pick and bans, if any?
It's really difficult to say, because traditionally their comp works. Like, as long as the pressure is there with Rapio and they're able to push smoothly through the early game, they're good to go. I mean, the only really thing that you can do is pick some of the earlier game characters. Like, maybe you put Odie on something different, because Amaterasu is traditionally a little bit better come the late game. So get him on a character that can make early rotations, that can win that lane, snowball out of it, and then be the carry, because I feel like we just didn't see enough from him when it came to contributing in the mid game when Marcus got to just blow up.
It's a good point. Rapio was not able to keep his direct opposition in line, so they're going to have to make some adjustments here in the picks and bans for game number 2. And I don't want to put it all there on Rapio as if it was just him. There were some times when Alka came back into duo lane, wasn't hitting a whole lot, and Warchi seemed very comfortable, so they were not able to put a lot of pressure onto these boys. Let's see here in game 2 what kind of adjustments they can make. I believe we saw the Oleron band alongside the Havois in those first picks last time, but they were swapped. So we'll see if being in the second pick for Papis this time around changes how they go about it. But for Pika Renuubs, they're going to start off with that same Oleron band.
I love this switch up, though. I think Pika Renuubs going into this first pick slot is going to give them a lot of advantage, especially if they want to pick up the Kali for themselves, because honestly, even though Marcus popped off on it, I don't see them banning it away here. So if it's their choice to pick it up for themselves, this is exactly the game plan that they need to make. Or maybe, you know, we see a Gamoja get first pick. I don't know, she's kind of good, Finch.
She is good. I'm certainly going to be on board with that. But here's the thing. I mean, Poppy certainly played well with the picks they had, right? With the Sobek, Kuzenbo combo. So if that's how they're going to perform, even on picks that I don't think are quite as strong as some of those other ones, then it is hard to critique. What worked for them works. So they can keep playing it, but it's just that when they go up against the best teams, right, when you start seeing Belt Slap and some of those other guys, they're going to be picking the best stuff if it's there. So you want to make sure you're at that same level with them. So far, though, these picks bans are basically the same, even though they're in different spots here. Learn me, the Cupid and the Oleron banned by Pika Renuubs, the Cthulhu and the Hopla banned by Papis.
Yeah, the goal here for Papis is to get Nemesis, but the problem is that when you're in second pick, you always have that issue of, do we get the Nemesis?
Whoa.
But clearly, Pika Renuubs says, no, we know you want this, it's not happening, just run back the bans from last game, because they're exactly the same, at least this far in, but Papis have got one more to go, and if I'm them, I'm not switching up, I'm banning the same thing, and that was Persephone.
Yeah, Persephone makes a ton of sense to ban here if I'm the Papis. I'm a little surprised Pika Renuubs choose to ban the Nemesis themselves. It feels like, you know, maybe force Papis to do that, and maybe you either get Persephone or Nemesis in that spot. Perhaps you're worried if they ban neither, that one slips through for them, and that's a little bit of a tough spot for you. So this does guarantee a world where they don't have to play against either one on the side of the Papis. And now they have this moment of maximum leverage to maybe go for something like a Emoja, or to take this Kali away from Marcus. And after the way Marcus played in Game 1, I don't really think I can doubt Pika Renuubs on this one. You got to get that out of his hands because they didn't seem to have an answer.
Yeah, that begs the question, though. Will Marcus pick up the Bakasura and say, anything you can do, I can do better? Because, honestly, the matchup for Kali into Bakasura is not amazing, but it's not bad either. But this Kepri first pick, again, it's just confusing me because Draco Marino has a really sick Yemoja. Where is this character at, man?
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to defend it, certainly, but they feel comfortable with these picks. The Kepri, what we saw for Alka last game, and I don't think it left a lot to be desired. So maybe the Papis with Draco Mariano playing it instead can show us what he can do with it. Creed, I imagine, will be taking the Sobek over into the solo lane. So still we got to wait to see what they're going to do for their backline. Jungler still to be seen as well from Papis, but look at this. The Achilles now getting locked in. I got to think that this is going to be going to Odie, who did play relatively well last game for them, but this Achilles should allow him to get active even sooner if they take it solo.
And that's exactly what Pika Renuubs needed. They needed something to get online a little bit faster than this Ama because, like you said, Amaterasu is the tippity top of the tier list when it comes to solo lane, but she just takes a little bit longer to come online. And, of course, SPL games tend to go a little bit longer than 24, 25 minutes. So in those cases, it is very, very good. But unfortunately for Pika Renuubs in the last game, didn't look so hot.
Well, with this ROM coming in, Pika Renuubs still need a support, one would think, and a mid laner. So we'll see where they choose to go with those second picks coming up a little bit later. Papis, on the other hand, round out this draft with the Nuwa. Now, between this Sobek, Nuwa, and Kepri, that is a decent amount of control. Blowing up those clay soldiers at close range is great CC, especially for anti-dive. Sobek's got some great disruption. Kepri obviously has the best disruption with that Scarab's Blessing. So I kind of like this from Papis. It feels like they're saying that they're going to make it really hard for this Kali to dive in and find value right away.
Oh, absolutely. Nuwa is one of the biggest counters up against Kali because she sees the trust can come out no matter where she is across the map. This Kali is dying as soon as that destruction wears off because Nuwa says, all right, you're low health, you haven't gotten a kill, I'm going up into fire shards, and as soon as I come down, you are dead. I love this pickup for Papis. It is perfect into their draft.
And look at this, Papis banning away the Hera. Now this I'm a little bit surprised by. I don't think Pika Renuubs was particularly impressive on this pick, so I don't know if it's really worth banning it, but I suppose if you're Papis and you know that's what he likes, take it away from him, right? I mean, it theoretically would only go down from there if that's his first pick. They'll also take away the Merlin, so they're really trying to limit some of those options for Pika Renuubs over there in the middle lane.
Yeah, there's still plenty of them available. We've got some things that we've seen before in the SCC, a very SCC exclusive Scylla could come out, or we could see maybe the Thoth being swapped around from the last game. Not a whole lot of CC or setup for him on the side of Pika Renuubs, so maybe I'm leaning more towards a Raijin, maybe. That sounds like a very solid pick for them.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd even want something like a Morrigan in that spot too, right? Just certainly a lot of strong mid lane options out there for him. So I think if you're Pika Renuubs, even with the Hera, Merlin, Persephone ban, you still have a lot of good options available to you as Jing Wei comes in for Papis. And this really feels even more like the Papis are saying, hey, we're not giving you a viable target. Jing Wei has so much escapability, Nuwa as well. If I'm this Kali for Pika Renuubs, then all of a sudden my viable options are looking shorter and shorter.
Yeah, it's really hard to say who this Kali could easily set as a target. If it's gonna be anyone, I might even go for the support just because this Khepri is the easiest one of all of them really to pick out. And, even so, when you get that extra bit of damage onto the Khepri, it's gonna force out his ultimate even faster. And the #1 rule of playing Khepri is not to use the ult on yourself, so if you're forced to do that, that's one less ult for everyone else on the squad. So honestly, it's going to really depend on what the Papis pick up here, but as I mentioned, Bakasura, what Rapio can do, Marcus can do better.
All right, so here's the thing about how Thor is still out there and would definitely make a ton of sense to pick. But that's not what Papis are trying to do, okay? They want Bakasura. They want to show Pika Renuubs, hey, it's not just the matchup, all right? We're going to make this Bakasura work on our side. And I love that, just as a sort of call-out, sort of shot call type thing. I love that. But Pika Renuubs round their draft out with the Cerberus, which we have been seeing a little bit more of. I don't know if I particularly loved it, but something that certainly can work. Alongside this Thoth, which obviously worked for Chekio. So Pika Renuubs, I think they have a chance to make this draft work.
Yeah, my only concern is that this Cerberus is just really there to force out some ultimates, force out some beads, and he doesn't really do a whole lot else. There's so many ways to interrupt the fire coming out, the breath. I mean, at least the leap is nice. He is going to get some healing, of course, from the Bakasura, Eat Minion, and Sobek, and all that, but at the end of the day, I might have favored something like a Ganesh, but when it comes down to it, and I gotta pick a draft, I have to go with Papis, man. The way that they played that last game, and just the utter power they're bringing into this one, it's nuts.
And the defensiveness. Good luck killing this comp, right? They've all got so much safety. Let's see how it works, though. Game 2, let's get it underway.
I gotta be honest, I gotta agree with Lermy and Finch here, Mifflin. Looking at the comps here, I'm seeing a Cerberus support. Now, sorry, no, this is a Cerberus solo and an Achilles support, so somehow even more whack than I was expecting.
I mean, look, we can't just straight up call these guys whack. There's got to be something coming through here. I think it's really Captain Odie's feeling pretty confident on that Cerberus. He's going to have a decent matchup into Creed in that solo lane. I'm feeling pretty good about how well that's going to pan out just because of the anti-heal passive, the ability to absorb some of that healing. But if every single one of my constituents, my buddies, my fellow casters is going to go for one team, you know your boy's got to play devil's advocate. I'm going to go with the other. They're going to win the game, and that's just the truth of it.
Yeah, you're just full committing to Pikarinoobs winning this game, huh?
Oh,
all
yeah,
right.
100%.
Tell me how. How are they going to win this game, Mifflin? How?
They're going to kill enemy gods. They're going to group up on objectives, probably take those objectives as well, potentially move themselves into the Titan. I'm thinking a couple auto attacks, some abilities on the tail end, maybe an ultimate or two. The Titan should eventually, the health bar, when it goes to 0, the Titan dies, and that results in the end of the game. That's really what I'm looking for.
No, well, you see, you've gone too far there. That's ridiculous. There is no way that you killed the Titan by reducing its health bar to 0.
Yeah,
Come on,
I've
put your serious face on now, Mifflin. It's game time.
But realistically, right? I mean, it's almost as if we've seen a team comp swap a little bit. Rapio now playing the Kali, Alka getting a little bit more aggressive on this Achilles. I think this comp in general is going to fit a lot better to what the Pikarinoobs like to play around. Because last game, what did we see? Even from behind, they loved fighting into every single team fight presented to them. Now they've got the tools even from behind to win a team fight and execute out of your Achilles, the ability to finish off kills from a range with this ROM. Rapio absolutely having more than one life because destruction is an insane ability. I think that this Thoth pick was such a huge boon for the Papis in the last match that taking it for themselves, the matchup into Chekio on this Nuwa should favor Pikarinoobs. They can poke from a range, try and stay outside of the Clay Minions range. Should be pretty alright.
I definitely agree with you here, and once again, in the left-hand side, we see Pikarinoobs finding an early advantage. Whether or not it'll last, we'll have to see, but to further reinforce that swap mindset, you know, as you said, Pikarino now stealing away Chekio's Thoth, Rapio picking up the Kali, and the Bakasura on Marcus. As Limey said, anything that Rapio can do, Marcus can do better, so we'll have to see if that's truly the case, as already a little bit of a skirmish coming out in the left lane leaves 2 members of Papis half health.
Look, I'm not going to stand for this Rapio slander as Warchi's going to be forced into using his beads. That man put an end to my SMITE Spain run back in the day when I played on console. I know this dude has an incredibly high top end. He's been playing the game at a high level for a very long time. He's got a good eye for talent, so I know he's surrounded himself with some very strong players. You know, I've seen what Marcus can do as well. They're both incredibly talented, but I think that just saying that as a blanket statement, Marcus is going to have a straight-up better Bakasura or a straight-up better Kali might be a little bit dangerous.
Potentially. I'll have to give that to you. Obviously, over on the right-hand side, we also see Creed going straight back to the Sobek. I've got no complaints with that because he absolutely dominated the lane with it last game. And OT, I'm not really sure. As I said, I don't really rate the Cerberus pick, especially when Amaterasu was open again to be picked up, so I'm not really sure why he ran to the Cerberus, but probably to feel a little bit safer in this lane, huh?
Yeah, Guardian solos have a lot less volatility. They shouldn't be dying nearly as much as a warrior might have the potential to, as we see Pika Renuubs group up around this purple buff. They are able to strip it away despite all the efforts that Draco Marino put in there. But as I said last game, and I'll say it again, second burst, same as the first. One purple buff invade makes not for a lead. It's about what you can do with that map pressure as it goes on. As far as the soul lane matchup goes, I've said it a lot about soul laners in general, but it should be more so now than ever a wet noodle fight lane. We've got two Guardians over there that are swinging for about 20 damage per auto attack, so I think we might not even have a chance to really talk about them for maybe the next 10, 11 minutes until they decide to rotate out. My eyes continually are on that 3v3. It's where the game was decided last time in mid. I think it's going to be decided there again.
Who do you think is going to be taking that first step then to engage into this 3v3? Already we're seeing a lot slower pace in general. We haven't seen First Blood yet. Last time it was about a minute and a half in. So who do you think is going to be starting off the party this time?
I would have said the Papis just because of the jungle matchup being Bakasura and the Kali, but last game has already proven me wrong on that one. So I think I might even favor Pika Renuubs a little bit just because Nuwa is a more disengaged focused mage. Those clay soldiers are going to be very hard to use aggressively, whereas on the other side, Pika Renuubs have Thoth, who we saw can play very aggressively at this level of play, dashing in constantly to find those roots, followed up with a little bit of assistance from the Achilles support, and have Rapio rotate in once the CC's all been used by the Papis, drop destruction, become unkillable, take out a couple of your targets. I might just favor Pika Renuubs in the 3v3 for at least the first 10 or so minutes.
I can definitely see your point there, as the oracles are going to be picked up. Cheeky little nom-nom from Marcus there, going to steal it away. It's going to be just a real quiet game here, though. As you said, I'm not really sure when we're going to be expecting this first kind of big engagement, but I think maybe we could start to see it over a cheeky Gold Fury. I know that both of these teams have been kind of pushing that envelope of trying to find an objective early, and I mean, Papis don't have the worst comp for early game objective shred.
Yeah, with Clay's minions just absolutely shredding defense. Marcus on Bakasura having the additional power in his kit. Although he does sacrifice a little bit of a power spike going for the Golden Blade start, which should boost his ability to clear the jungle. It's going to hurt his ability to burn down these objectives, but the additional power should make up for a lot of that. I don't really expect either team to be going for risky plays here. If the Papis want to engage on Gold Fury, they have to be ever constantly concerned about Davey or Pika Reno sniping it out. If Pika Renuubs group on it, they have to worry about Bakasura just in general with the counter engage. But there we go, Nuwa and Bakasura starting off the fight.
Well, the blink in from both of the junglers on either side is going to be good to just force each other away. It looks like one jungler went in. Rapio went in, and then Marcus was like, oh, you're going in? Well, I'll go in on your mid laner. And then the mid laners were like, guys, please help. And then they were like, okay, all right, we'll back away. That's enough of that. But just quickly, I want to point out the difference in builds. So last game you said how Rapio went for a kind of slower build on Bakasura, choosing to finish off the boots first. But this time, not only is Marcus picking up Golden Blade instead of the boots first, but on the other end, Rapio choosing to go for these Warrior Tabby instead of the Ninja Tabby. Now, why is that?
It looks like Rapio is understanding that if he wants to get involved in the early game, Warrior Tabi is going to be better just for the additional burst ability. On his actual abilities, he's going to play a little bit more so towards the strength of Kali's kit instead of just the auto attacks. And he's likely going to finish this build over the Mace with a Crusher to help out with that auto attack speed a little bit. And we saw why he did it just a moment ago. He immediately engaged on a Chekio, forced out the ultimate. That damage output from just the blades was perfect. Now if he can just continually find that aggression, burn out the beads if he has to, that's going to be phenomenal. In that last trade, we saw Pika Renuubs trade nothing for 3 ultimates.
Yeah, well, Alka apparently not happy with that easy of a trade. He's gonna be a little too aggressive for my taste. Not really any reason for it. We've seen Alka. So this is something else that I really want to harp on from last game. I was saying in the break to you, Mifflin, that I really wouldn't have minded seeing Alka back on this Khepri because his ultimates were on point. But it looks like, once again, this game, his positioning is something that is leaving me wanting a little bit.
Well, I'd say he's going for a calculated play there. He tries to peek his head into the red buff, see if it's available. Doesn't lose out on his life, so no harm, no foul in my book. If you can't get the Khepri, I like what Pika Renuubs do. Alka falls down to the Achilles as a direct counter matchup. Draco Marino can use the Scarab's Blessing. Who cares? Alka can look for the Execute and make sure that they don't get any value off of that. Easier said than done. Of course, it is going to be very execution focused. And if Draco Marino does go for those last second Scarab's Blessing, it's going to be nearly impossible. But eventually, we're going to see, I'm hoping, at least one of those Scarab's Blessings get executed out.
I mean, that's the dream, right? Like, if you're a support, you're seeing a tasty kill that's about to get away. Nobody else can do it but you. You never get to get kills, but today, this is your day, and you get to fly toward the target and just stop him from reviving. I'm sure Alka would be more than happy to oblige.
Yeah, and let it be known, all supports in the chat right now, that's the only time you're allowed to take one of my kills, okay? If Scarab's Blessing on, and you have an Execute, go for it. Short of that, hold your S key, AFK, I don't care, just don't touch my kills, and that's how it's going to work out. If you have to die to make sure I get that kill, power to you.
But Mifflin, what if you drop the kill?
I won't, I'm Mifflin.
Okay. I'll believe you. Dozens wouldn't, but I will. Over in the right-hand side, though, double blink in from Pikarinoobs. Looks like that ultimate is going to be on the mug, but Alka missing his window. He saw it, he went for it, but I'm not really sure if that was just Marcus being able to run away fast enough to get out of range, or if that was a little bit of a whiff there from Alka, but either way, that's got to be upsetting.
That's Marcus making perfect use of his passive to get the additional movement speed from Scarab's Blessing as well. Just drags him out of that range a little bit. And unfortunately for Pika Renuubs, the speed buff on the enemy side respawns just as they move away. So it's just going to be those back camps invade that's going to go their way for that one. But I like this aggressive playstyle. They're not allowing the Poppies to run over them in the early game, and instead it's completely even at 9.5 minutes.
Well, and that's really what you want to see if you're Pikarinoobs, right? Last game at this point, Papis were already, what, 3 or so K up? So just to be even, I think, has got to feel great for this SOC team.
It should. And take a peek at what Marcus is deciding to build here. Instead of going into the boots next, he's going to go for the triple katana build, I'm thinking. Golden Blade into Hasten Katana, likely going to be a stone cutting sword coming up next. This is one of the most efficient builds you can go on Bakasura, but again, it is going to be a little bit slower. It's a lot more expensive. That movement speed that you're so reliant on as a jungler is going to come to you in increments rather than one lump sum in the form of boots. It's going to help him out a lot come late game, so he can get true 6th item slotted a lot earlier than Rapio should, just because he's likely just going to pass up on boots completely. He won't have to sell them and look for a new item later on. But it is going to be a little bit of a boon for Pika Renuubs, just not having to worry about his chase down potential for at least a couple more items.
Maybe, and it could have cost him his life there if Pika Renuubs had decided to go onto him, but instead, just Alka deciding to go aggressive onto the Bakasura, and now potentially in a bit of trouble as he's out here against 3, maybe 4 members with this rotation from Warchi, but instead, the ADC from Papis deciding to take a bit of a safer route, but look at this damage coming through from Pikarino. Oh, not quite on the mark, but the damage onto Marcus is going to be enough to force him out, and now, maybe with this space, Pikarinoobs could look for this early objective, but instead, maybe just looking for this tier 1 tower, or even a pick and left.
Yeah, I think going for the gold free there might have been a little bit too risky for them. Losing out on Pikarino's ultimate means that you're also lost out on the best confirmation that you have. It being a Bakasura that received the majority of that poke. Eat minion plus Assassin's Blessing. That's a ton of sustain, but a little cheeky blue buff invade. Here comes the cavalry.
Well, it looks like they're not going to quite be in time. As a quick jump and a blink from Rapio is going to get him out safe. I'm not 100% sure if Papis were able to secure that blue buff. Looks like OT might have picked it up, but now picking up 2 people with his ultimate. It looks like Chikio could be in trouble. He's going to fall down straight away there. That is going to be the mark from Rapio as well. Not able to confirm the second marked kill, but Pikarino is going to pick up Creed, so that's going to be a nice little double kill from Pika Renuubs, but once again, not deciding to go for an objective or anything after it.
It's just so early in the game that I can't really fault them on playing a little bit more cautiously, especially with so much on the line. If they do go for a risky objective play and lose out on it, this small lead that they start to establish for themselves, about 1,500 in their favor, could immediately evaporate. If they lose this game, they go home. So it makes sense to me that Pika Renuubs are playing a little bit more cautious. I'll keep it $150 with you here. Once I saw Marcus, Creed, and Chekio completely surround Odie in their own blue buff, and Rapio jumps over a wall and blinks out, completely leaving his man high and dry, I thought for sure we were going to see a kill come through for the Poppies, but instead Marcus plays a little bit cautiously around it, doesn't drop his ultimate, which allows Captain Odie to reposition out of the blue, find a fantastic ultimate. The counter rotation that we saw come through from Pikarino, Rapio wraps back around as well. We saw Alco rotating in. It was just a good address from Pikarinoobs to try and get their boy out of there. But I think the Poppies really did miss an opportunity. If they keep playing cautious like this, nothing ventured, nothing gained, they could just continually see this lead start to grow in favor of the boys in blue.
Absolutely, but I mean, you can never really rule Poppies out, lead or otherwise. As look at that, nice pull from Draco Mourinho. Looks like Rapio just got a little bit too close to the tower there and got in hug range there. Big hug bug not really letting him go without a big cuddle. But I mean, I gotta fight you on that point about the objectives, because just purely based on the fact of no one else was really in position, and Poppies don't really have much in the way of steal potential, especially with, I guess, Creed off the map being the best secure with the Under the Waters.
Davey taking a little bit of a 1v1 in the jungle. Warchi going to be forced into using that ultimate. Up into the skies he goes. One shot's all it's going to take. And now we're in a position where I think you can start to look for an objective. Scarab's Blessing getting forced off as well.
Oh.
There's the execute. Love to see it, Alka. Gold Fury should
got him.
absolutely be on the menu.
For sure, and look at this. 3 members from Pika Renuubs looking to get that spacing, whilst it looks like Rapio and Davey are grinding down this Gold Fury for exactly what it's worth. And first objective of the game is going to go towards Pika Renuubs. They are looking in such a good position here, Mifflin.
Yeah, about 4,000 gold in the lead, 14 minutes in the game. All the neutral objectives inside of towers still available, and aggression continually coming through. Chekio forced to use the ultimate.
And there's the beads as well to counteract the knock-up there from Captain Oti and help him get out just a little bit more scot-free than otherwise. But in the meantime, Davey's going to make quick work of that tier 1 and left. And now with, I think, a net gain of about 2,000 gold plus kills, Pikarinoobs are going to walk away happy.
Man, just to harken back to that 1v1 between the hunters we saw in the jungle, it came down to RNG there. Had Warchi got a couple more crits, he would have absolutely won that fight. Failing that, Davey going for the Ikavel, stripping away the power from the Jing Wei. I mean, that's the age-old classic. If you go Ikavel, it means that you want to look for early skirmishes against the enemy hunter. Warchi shouldn't be giving them away.
No, for sure. Warchi once again under some pressure as well here in the left-hand side. Choosing again to go for this, as you just mentioned, this fail not early. Now, I'm not really sure if this is a common occurrence in ADC builds, but I'm pretty sure if you want to build crit, you should build rage first, no, Mifflin?
Fail Not is a very strong stat stick in of itself. If memory serves, it's around 40 power, a little bit of cooldown, some crit as well. Rage building early on, obviously going to be a mainstay in the majority of crit-based builds just because you want to get those stacks available, but Alka might not let us talk about it.
No, absolutely not. Well, at least it's going to be a short conversation. He's going to fall down. Final Judgment comes out from Pikarino to try and save his life, but not quite having the power online just yet does Thoth.
Yeah, Thoth's damage is still enough that you don't really want to stand near him, and by near I mean within a football field's range of him, because he's the farthest hitting mage in the game. And now Pika Renuubs, although they are the ones with the 4v5, are going to try and pull the objective themselves. A nice ultimate from Chekio is going to spot them out and force them off the objective, and that's one of the best features that Nuwa can bring to your team, that global vision. I mean, for sure there, Chekio's just pressing 4 because he wants to pad the damage stat, but fortunately for him, he gets some valuable information as well.
And that information might just about lead to the death of Captain Oti. 3 people knocked up there, but without really a place to go, and well, teammates are on the way, so if he can hold out just for a little bit longer, no ultimate available for Marcus, but 4 members of Papis are here, and they're not going to let Captain Oti get away again. Meanwhile, though, in the left-hand side, feeds up popped by Davey, but he's looking to find a kill on to the mid laner here. Chekio might fall down, buys the 3rd snap in the stealth. Davey now forced under tower and is lurking in the waters. Could be in some trouble here, but does manage to avoid out the damage thanks to that lifesteal. He might be fine, but a pluck into the archers is going to find the life, and now not once to leave only 1 fight going at any given time. Continuing the fight, Pika Renuubs leave 2 low under tower. In goes Ulka, but it's going to be a miss from the ult there. Gives Marcus enough space to leap out with the blink. And now it's Warchi all by his lonesome. Does find the airstrike away, and that should be the wash of the fight there.
Just so much fighting everyone on the map. Pika Renuubs very cognizant of the fact that they've got a lead at this point, so they want to continually push it in the early before they see Marcus start to come online, before Chekio gets his ability to start one-shotting. The second relic comes available for Draco Marino. This is the absolute best time for Pika Renuubs to continually push their lead, and unfortunately for them, Gold Fury is down still, so they can't really group up there and force a 5-on-5 engagement. But fortunately for them, Pyromancer is available if they can start to get some wards over there, group up, force the Papis to make a response on the map. Just any sort of proactive play to continually push this lead would be good for them. 2,500, not the biggest amount at 18 minutes in, but the XP definitely favoring the blue team.
For sure, but let me ask you conversely to that. What kind of things are the Papis looking to do? Actually, hold that thought, as in the mid lane there's an engagement going on. Captain Oti once again finding a nice big ultimate there. Ulka isn't going to be around to reap the benefits, though, as he's going to fall down, and that's the flag for Pika Renuubs to fall back. But what I was about to ask you before I was so rudely interrupted by the game that we're talking about, what kind of things are the Papis looking to do to try and not necessarily claw their way back into this? Because, as you said, not really a huge lead, but what kind of things are they looking to do to get back into the driver's seat?
I mean, just looking at the nature of their composition, they should be looking for individual picks on the map. If the Papis are able to separate these team fights and find separate one-on-ones or 2v2s, that's really where they're going to be favored. I mean, we've continually seen Davey pushing up to this tier 2 tower, so what Marcus is doing right now is exactly what I was going to say. Gank this ROM, put him in the dirt, and then rotate into an objective. But unfortunately for Marcus, he's going to take a little bit too much damage from that ultimate. Wasn't feeling confident enough to stick around in that engagement. And now Rapio might find some free food.
Might? I think it's almost assured here. Rapio has got a lot to his name, but not really too much from Marcus. But the delay in the timing it takes him is going to allow Marcus to get his jump back up. So caster's curse from me, I suppose. But here on the left-hand side, let's see if Cerberus can get some more comida for everyone, as it's going to be one person knocked up. Creed is the only one plucked, but Ulka going to start off the party, getting a kill onto Warchi. Up into the sky goes Nuwa, though. Chekio saves his life just about. Rapio tries to escape, but he's not going anywhere. Plucked in from Creed. Now coming back around is Marcus blinking in. He's going to find one. Pikarino falls down. Now Davey's coming into the fight. Those auto attacks are going to hit hard. Marcus isn't going to stay alive long enough to reap the rewards. And now it's going to be Creed, last man left standing alongside his Kepri friend. Is able to get out by the looks of things, thanks in part to his Mantle of Discord. Draco Marino, though, tells a different story as he's going to pull. Now Creed left under tower. The auto attacks from Davey are going to hit hard. He's going to fall down as well. Chekio's the only one left alive now. Just about respawned. He's going to find one to trade, but Pika Renuubs have already run all the way back to the bank.
With Davey and Alka still remaining alive, Gold Freak should be an option here, but Alka rather, is so low health. If Chekio gets the jump on him, he could very easily lose his life, but one stun's all it takes. Davey should be able to pick this up.
Yeah, very nice, simple, quick clean there. And Davey, once again, finding this engage. It doesn't look like Papis are interested in having a full fight. Instead, they wanna pull that old bad guy trope and come in one at a time, let the hero get in a couple good swings, and then rotate in and out.
But that fight doesn't go as badly for the Poppies as it should have. We initiated it with Rapio wrapping around Marcus, trying to find that stun, immediately gets jumped out, which allows Marcus to go back to base. Rapio loses his life off an unfortunate destruction timing. This Kali plays a little bit sloppy right now. You're going to have to clean it up. You're playing the hyper carry. It's your job to do just that. Carry.
For sure, and Rapio looking to maybe find a target here, but Pikarino finds Warchi and the Gold Fury in one fell swoop. He's deemed them both to be unworthy. Draco Mourinho now getting caught back out by that ultimate from Oti, who's been having some great ults. Marcus, on the other hand, finding his counterpart, saying, I can play Kali better than you, my friend. He's going to take down that Bakasura. And now Captain Oti claims his first kill as well in this game, taking down Draco Mourinho finally after picking up that pluck. And now it looks like Pika Renuubs are going straight for this Fire Giant.
As they should. Only 2 members alive on the side of the Poppies. Ultimate's available for both, so Creed could try and move in and buy some time, but it's not really worth it. Chekio on the opposite side of the map. This Sobek being level 19 is a very high level, but not necessarily as tanky as you would like to be able to disrupt this. So now Fire Giant should go the way of Pikarinoobs relatively for free. Rapio identifies that they have got plenty of time to work with, so a tier 2 tower should go down as well before we see any real resistance come through from the Poppies. I don't imagine we see them stick around much longer than that. It's time to back up. Spend the gold you got from the team fight, you got from the Fire Giant in this tier 2. Gold in pocket doesn't really help you. Gold in an item absolutely will. Now they're going to likely group up on the opposite side of the map. If you take the left side Phoenix, that is the hardest lane to defend once subsequent Fire Giant dances begin. You have to deal with those Fire Minion waves constantly flooding into your base while the enemy team is on the literal opposite side of the map. I really like this play. But the defense that the Poppies have is good now that they're almost in an enforced 5-on-5 state. As Finch has so eloquently put in the past, once you get to the Phoenix Siege portion of the game, that's when it really starts to simplify. Now the Poppies can really lean into the strengths of their comp. Chekio's going to have a much easier time connecting his stuns just because they're going to be localized almost entirely on him, unless he gets picked.
For sure. Although I do want to just quickly point out something that the wonderful boys in production just threw up on the screen there, that Papis are still going to win this game because they have 100% shrine efficiency. And that is the most important stat. Creed now under the water as the mid Phoenix is going to fall down here for Pika Renuubs. As you said, they backed up, got their items, and came straight back and claimed two structures here in the mid lane. Now potentially looking over to this left-hand side to claim even more gold and pressure on the map.
Yeah, it's looking good for the boys in blue right now. All that is afforded to them because of the positioning from Chekio immediately getting forced into using his ultimate, as well as his beads almost single-handedly by Captain Oti. He was just rotating in to start up the split push, but because they were able to force that back from the enemy mid laner, it means that it gives them the opportunity to go for the mid tower. Now they're going to be contending with Fire Minion waves rushing down mid, as well as Pika Renuubs grouping up on the actual side of the map that's more important, the left side, picking up a tier 2, and then grouping up on the Phoenix as well. I like this call from Marcus. Look for the Pyromancer. Wait, no, my tower's down already. We need to be on this Phoenix right now.
For sure, and you know, it's going to be invaluable if you can get a pretty decent ultimate off to try and stop some of these carries from rolling away, but the engage from Captain Oti is going to be good. Once again, 2 players plucked straight into the center of his engagement field. Under the water, once again, it goes Creed to really break up this fight. Final Judgment comes through, not really doing too much, though. Doesn't find the damage that it needed to, and Marcus is going to start off the party with a kill. Up into the sky goes Nuwa, down falls Alka. Because of it, now Captain Oti's getting caught out. That's going to be probably kill number 3, but Creed actually plucks him away. Captain Oti might find his way out here, but no, Warchi not going to quite let that happen. He's going to put the 3-headed Dogman into the ground alongside his support.
You know, this is one of the benefits of watching the SEC. It's so much more digestible. Normally, I have to go through 18 layers of entropy to figure out where a siege attempt fails. But right there, it's pretty on the board. Pika Renuubs, Davey immediately gets plucked by Creed, mistimes his beads, then lands inside the enemy Phoenix, uses his Aegis in a pure panic, gets body blocked by a minion for a solid 2 seconds, and then loses his life to lurking in the water. And now we're in a situation where the Poppies can start to tear back a little bit. Going down the mid lane, a very good decision. They're pushing out the one lane that already lost their own Phoenix, so the Fire Minion wave is going to have a much harder time finding its way to the enemy base. They can now start to group up, and because the mid Phoenix is the only one to go down, that's one of the easier ones to defend. So Now the Poppies are in a position where normally you wouldn't be allowed to really try and make a Fire Giant defense attempt once it does respawn. As long as the jungler is hovering around mid, I think that the Poppies are in a good spot. Only 4,000 gold down at 26 minutes. I might as well just call this game completely even. This next Fire Giant's going to be very indicative of the game.
Look at that graph, though. Just the slow, steady build up there from Pika Renuubs, just progressively building up that golden XP lead, and then just BAM! In one fight, basically turned on its head, and as you said, nearly completely even here, but Alka, looking like he wants to reclaim some of that lost glory, blinks in, tries to make a play onto Warchi, so does force the beads, and that could be a big play for Pika Renuubs as they're looking to pick up this Primal Fury here.
They didn't get the beads there. Beads should be up in about 50 seconds. Those were down from the previous team fight, but what was really lost out was Alka's blink. So now the engage potential has gone way down, which is why we're seeing the Poppies try and move forward a little bit, see if anyone starts their lazy back, they can find a pick. If they do find just one, that's going to be a free Fire Giant going their way. But the entire time they're chasing down through this jungle, that Fireman in wave that was so pushed up just moments ago is rapidly approaching that Phoenix. So they all going to have to go back to base, group up on it, show themselves on the map, and now Pika Renuubs know exactly where they all are, which means that they can very easily walk into the Fire Giant and get vision control.
Yeah, and it looks like that's exactly what they're gonna do. The sentry on the Fire Giant pit, I think at the moment is owned by Papis, but Alka doesn't look like he has a sentry on him. He's gonna walk straight over that ward and place one of his own. Now looking to start the party, doing a little bit of damage, whilst the rest of his team, as you said so eloquently, take that vision control straight back.
Now the Fire Giant dance begins. Who's going to be the first one to jump in? Alka, looking very aggressive with his positioning on the map, but with no blink available, is going to have a very hard time getting through the front line, Creed and Draco Marino. Now Draco Marino is in a position where if he finds an abduct, that should result in a kill. His entire team is rapidly approached level 20, 6 items online for the majority of them. There's a lot of kill potential for both teams. Creed should be playing backline peel duty. I'm imagining we see the Khepri go for the engage himself and then immediately peel back and look for a Scarab's Blessing. But luckily for Pika Renuubs, they still have Odie, who, one ultimate, can absolutely change the face of a team fight.
And we've seen it time and time again in these fights. I don't think we've seen an ultimate from OT that has been completely immune now. He's always getting one, sometimes two, sometimes three men in that ultimate, so we'll have to see if he can make a similar play here, as Fire Giant has already fallen down to about half HP. Up into the sky goes Rama to take down Marcus already. He's already out of the fight. No Bakasura and no jungler available for the Pappies to start off this engagement. Now it's going to be OT once again finding that pluck on to the support. Draco Marino, he's going to get taken to the sky. Two more players from the Pappies fall down, and now all by his lonesome, Draco Marino is going to fall alongside his mid laner. That's going to be Deicide for Pika Renuubs. And Mifflin, I think we just saw game number 2 go the way of Pika Renuubs.
Yeah, it looks like a Game 3 situation. What a clean team fight there. Rapio immediately spots out Marcus around that right side mid camp, puts the damage in. Davey resets Fire Giant for the ultimate, finishes up that kill, and from there it's just a clean spearhead attack from Pika Renuubs, while the Poppies have to run with their tails tucked firmly between their legs. There was at no point a chance for them to turn around that engagement, so now they're going to have to turn it around in Game 3.
Well, I mean, what else can we really say about this game? Pika Renuubs almost seemed night and day from that game 1. We saw them nearly completely in control that entire time. Only really had one stumble there at the Phoenix fight, losing and obviously allowing Poppy to get some sort of claw back at something that they had lost. But really, really strong showing in this game 2 for Pika Renuubs.
It was. It seemed like they got the composition that fits more so to their play style. Hold that. I voted Pika Renuubs. Immediately, everyone else was wrong. Mifflin's the best. That's 100% of what it was.
I completely forgot that you went against us all, but yeah, congratulations, Mifflin. We'll have to see how these two teams clash together once again as we go into Game 3. But for now, we're going to go to a quick break before going back to our analysts.
Welcome back to the circuit playoffs. Pika Renuubs have suddenly made this into a set, and they're not the only ones that could certainly be getting ahead. We got the Sun and Moon sale going on right now, so make sure that you are enjoying that in-game. That is 33% off gym pack, 50% off voice packs, as well as 50% off element chests and more. So make sure that you are checking that out. A lot of stuff is on sale right now. A great time to try and catch up on some of the great cosmetics we have in-game. Now that means Lermy and I can start breaking down what just happened in that game 2 there. I was worried for a minute that I was going to be wrong. Kali was going to pop off, but Davey was my hero, as I think he was the true carry in this.
Oh, absolutely. Davey goes into comms game 2, says, boys, this is it. Get in my backpack. And then he absolutely put on a show for us. I mean, you typically see the Rama player have some nice snipes here and there, but this man was accurate. He hit a Nuwa in the middle of her fog, and all 3 shots, I mean, there's nothing more to say than that. This man had a sick game.
He absolutely did, and a lot of that safety that I thought the Papis were going to have here was Draco Marino's ult with their close-range peel, all this disruption from their Guardians. It really didn't come to fruition. It was a lot of the times Davey and Odie kind of working together as this 2-man duo and just putting the hands to people that they came across. I think Alka, despite the not very pretty KDA, did have some impactful fights there, and Robio's KDA ends up looking a little bit nicer, but some of that came during that last team fight. This was mostly, as far as I was concerned, Davey and Odie kind of running the show.
Oh, absolutely. And Odie just made it so hard for Chekio to breathe. He was constantly leaping over the fight to this Nuwa, chasing her down with the breath, throwing out the ultimate, really anything to force the Nuwa to ult, to beads, to Aegis, just making it so that she could not move up to the fight and feel safe. Otherwise, you know, Alka's going to be there to execute him. If there's no way for the Nuwa to be safe, you can't move up. And it kind of just wasn't the same for the other side. Of course, you do have this Sobek, but how is the Sobek going to get to a Thoth and make him feel unsafe when all this stuff's going down in your backline? There's no shot.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up this Thoth. I do want to make sure we give Pikarinoobs some credit for this Thoth play, too, because he had some great final judgments. I think a good improvement for what we saw from him on the Hera in Game 1. And now, all of a sudden, we've got ourselves a set on our hands. I mean, it looked like Papis are going to come in here and walk all over the SOC representatives, but that has not been the case here so far. I think we do have a good case for no longer picking Bakasura, though. He has not looked impressive in either of these junglers' hands.
Yeah, 0 for 2 in a matchup that we thought he would handedly win. Kind of surprising when it comes down to it, but if it's not working in the set, I'm on the same page. Just throw it out, try something different. And you mentioned last picks and bans that Thor was on the table. Hunbots is also there. There's plenty of characters that have a lot more team fighting potential that are on the board. And of course, these guys are up here in the SCC, so, you know, they should definitely be able to play these characters at this level.
I'd expect so, too. I mean, Sino's been popping off on the Urlog Shen. Maybe pick that one up, too. There's a lot of good options as we move to the picks and bans for our third and final game of our first set here to start off the day. Papis back in that first pick spot. And that's the other small thing, I think, to note. The team that has been in first pick has won both games so far, so maybe there's, you know, a significant advantage to that.
I mean, every single time it's been the Kali, so maybe it's Kali diff is the real answer here, but we'll have to see if either team bans it out. If anyone's going to do it, my expectation is it's going to be the Pikarinos to get rid of them, but at the same time, the big question is that more important than anything else that they've banned? Are they going to leave open Nemesis, Hupwa, Olaran? I don't know.
A lot of stuff that you have to ban. I mean, I do think that it was Marcus's Kali in Game 1 and then Davey's Rom in Game 2. So if I'm Papis, I wouldn't necessarily overreact to the fact that the Kali ended up for Pikarinoobs and maybe try and stay a little bit more honed in on what worked for him. But who knows? These picks and bans have been difficult to predict, at least for me so far, feeling as though they've left a lot of the higher value stuff on the table, but it has worked for them to play the picks that are a little bit more their style, so it's hard to critique them in that regard. As Hopwa and Olaran, the exact same bans we've seen so far, go away here. It looks like things are going to stay pretty much the same, at least in the ban column.
Yeah, when you're coming into these kind of games as the SOC team, clearly you're the small guy at the table. You've got to play what you're comfortable with. And of course, in that last game, they played things that we would have never thought of. I didn't think they were going to pick Achilles support or throw a Thoth in mid, but there you go. They had it and it worked. So maybe there is an argument there for playing what you're comfortable with despite the meta. The meta that means nothing to these guys.
Well, we got our first adjustment here. This is the first game where Kali will be banned. Pikarinoobs choosing to ban it with their second pick. Now, they've normally also banned the Persephone, and they'll still have the chance to do that if they want to ban it with their third pick. Meanwhile, Papis are moving around at the same pace that they normally have as well with this Hobwalk Cthulhu, and they'll ban the Persephone. So now we can see what Pikarinoobs want to do with this third slot. We know the emoji hasn't been particularly valued. I don't think you need to waste a ban there if no one's going to play it. Try to take away something that Papis have been looking comfortable on so far.
I would say that's a possibility too, but from these bans, you can definitely see that Nemesis is the value here for Poppy. So I think, despite what my gut is saying, you really do have to take that away, and that is going to be the choice there for them. But now here's the question. We haven't seen Emoji be value, but maybe this ROM is going to be the clap back, right? You say, okay, Davey had a sick game last one. Now it's time for Warchi to do the same exact thing. So that's my thought as where the first pick's going to go. But, oh, Cupid was the one that didn't get banned, so he's going to be picked up first.
And Cupid's really strong. We all saw Mifflin have to reboot the other day when Cupid was passed on. That's because this god is the second best hunter of the game right now behind Rom, and it might even be a push between those two. Cupid's so powerful right now. You can get away with doing the Silver Branch build on him if you want to, or you can build him more power pen based. Either one of those are valuable options for Cupid right now, as Pikarinu are going to come back to this Sobek, which we have seen picked up consistently throughout this set, so no big surprise they grab it here.
I like the pickup against the Cupid too, because you can just go lurk in the waters when the Field of Love come out, and then you're totally safe there. And basically, you just have to sit on him and make sure that he can't push forward with that big circular ult. So I like the thought process there, and I also love putting Davey back on this ROM. If the hand is hot, by all means, go back to it.
100% on board with you on that one. Davey was the hero of that first game, aided by some good team play around him, but a lot of the times he was making some individual efforts as well, and perhaps a chance to run that back. But this time, Warchi's not going to be on the passive Jing way. This Cupid could be looking to pressure the ROM out, trading ult for ult all the time, and then making sure that you've got the favorable matchup afterwards. It's back to the Thoth here, which Pikarinu played last game, which we saw played by the Poppies with Chekio first game. This Thoth has also been a hotly contested pick.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too, because a character like Sobek, and even Rom to a certain extent, can definitely put the pressure onto the Thoth. And I like to say Rom in particular because Thoth is known for his very, very long range, but Rom can match that going up into the Astro Barrage. So being able to take out that guy on the back line is certainly a very good thing to do in almost every situation. So as long as they're able to match that with their next couple of picks, I'm thinking that Pikarinoobs is in a really, really good spot.
Pikarinu should be. Well, I'm excited to see where they go. I'd really like to see a strong jungler come through, but it's hard to argue with what they've chosen to prioritize here instead. The pieces that worked for them in game one, right? Let's get that ROM back. Let's get the Cerberus back for Odie, who was popping off on that pick as well. And they're taking the Sobek away from Creed, likely to be putting that in. Well, that's a good question, right? I mean, the Cerberus was for Odie last time, so are they going to give this Sobek back to Alka, who I think has had, some ups and downs throughout this set? I'm curious to see where they go.
I think it's hard to say right now because we don't see every character on the table quite yet, but as soon as we see maybe a couple more picks, either of these characters could flip-flop, and that's kind of the strategy that Pikarinoobs are going for is Sobek solo works, Cerberus solo works. You don't know where we're going until we load into the game, so that flex is certainly something that they are taking advantage of right now.
Look at Pikarinoobs' bans. At this point, they have 3 aimed towards the jungle. The Kali, Nemesis, and the Robin all met to try and limit some of what Marcus can do here for the Poppies. They also have the Xing Chen now taken away, and I think that's a pretty good ban. We know the Poppies are willing to go the Double Guardian, even with this Kuzenbo in support. So take that away from them, force them to find something else over there in that long lane, and perhaps give them a more favorable matchup if it is going to be Odie on this Cerberus, taking them into something where it can feel a little bit more comfortable. As Poppies ban away the Thor, you love to see a good jungler getting some attention here in the picks and bans.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, though, by this Agni pickup. Agni doesn't really have a great matchup into Thoth or Cupid. He kind of roots himself when he's throwing out the bombs, and not only that, he's got no CC immunity to deal with Kuzenbo or Cupid. So I'm going to be concerned to see if this Agni can find some kind of a lead in the early game, because it's going to be difficult if they get to the late game, and there's really no pressure in mid.
And the crazy thing is, I do think Agni can be pretty strong once he gets 3 or 4 items online. His damage can be nuts. His control can be strong too. But you already covered the best part of this, Lermy. I don't like his matchup here, right? I mean, he could be in a lot of trouble lacking that CC immunity, being so reliant on that dash into this composition from Cupid and Cusibo and their ability to disrupt. Now, this Jormungandr comes in for Papis. As we expected, they did want to go a double Guardian comp. And with this Awilix here, so between the Kuzenbo, the Yorm, they've got some good knockups for this Awilix to work with.
Yeah, there is a lot here for this Awilix to be able to use, not even to mention the leap coming out of the Cerberus. Of course, it's not really a character that you necessarily want to go for, but at the same time, it is available if they absolutely want to, or they're trying to isolate out Odie, which I assume that it's going to. Even still, I guess the matchup here is probably better for Cerberus in solo than in support, but I'm still not sure which way those characters are going.
It'll also be the Pele coming in last pick here for Rapio to take into the jungle. I like this one. It's something that can allow him to get active pretty early. I imagine then the Awilix won't be waiting all that long to start fighting as well. So these two junglers should be going toe-to-toe. But I just wonder, I'm with you in some hesitation about this Agni. And I'm an Agni fan. I hope that, that the people out there watching know that about me, but I just don't know that this is the best matchup for him.
Yeah, that's the big concern, right, is I love the thought process coming out of Pika Renuubs. It's all going to be about the execution, and last game we saw him do it, so if they're able to bring it into game number 3, I'm going for the underdogs.
Pika Renuubs maybe having a chance to take it over Papis. Could that be what we're seeing? Game 3 will hold all the answers.
Thank you, Finch. Once again, it's me and Mifflin repping this casting desk as we get ready to jump into game number 3 right here. Mifflin, I'm looking at these comps and I'm wondering if these are the same 2 teams that we saw the last 2 games, because this is almost unrecognizable picks and bans wise.
Yeah, it's a brand new look for both squads here. I really like the Papis' drafts, and you know what? I'm going to keep that trend of running Devil's Advocate going. I think this Awilix is going to have a very good time in the early game, looking for early pressure, which I think has really been the determining factor of both of the games that we've seen so far. Is whichever team establishes a lead early on has been able to continually push it and find advantages throughout the mid to late game as well. So I think that seeing them switch up their focus from the late to early is going to be hugely beneficial for them, but I'm worried about how well those gravity surges are going to be able to come through. Sure, you've got the Jormungandr to help you out a little bit, or the Kuzenbo ultimate, but those are tight timings that are very hard to execute on. I think it's going to come down to that Spirit Jaguar on its own for the most part to really set up for it, but we can't sleep on Awilix in general. The gravity surge in of itself, even if you don't use it to pull an enemy, is a fantastic stim. The ability to just to damage out people, trade it into objectives, it's all there. I'm really concerned about the Agni pick. As Lermy and Finch already highlighted, Pikarino is going to have a hard time dealing with the aggression coming his way. If Draco Marino ever makes contact with this Agni in a team fight, you might as well not have Agni in your team fight.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Like, it's a rough one to pick into the Kuzenbo, as I'm pretty sure that it was. But, I mean, we'll have to see. Clearly, if Pico Marino feels like he can play this Agni into this comp, there must be some sort of reason. Or maybe it's just a massive comfort pick for this player. And, well, yeah. Well, I gotta echo your point, and Lermy's point as well, that he will definitely have a rough time if they let Draco Marino get back to him. But at the same time, we could see Alka and Captain Ulti just go full turtle and just protect Pikarino.
That's what we saw last time as well, is just Captain Odie and Alka holding down the front line incredibly well. I'm concerned about how well Alka's going to be able to perform that same way. We saw him playing almost as a secondary jungler in Game 2 on that Achilles, where he was constantly looking for executes, initiating fights with just raw damage. Now on this Sobek, he's going to be relegated more so to a backline peel role. So it's going to be on Davey, Pikarino, and Rapio to step up their game and try to make their plays proactively almost as solo agents. But knowing Rapio, Pele is one of the gods he's very comfortable with as well, and he's got a decent matchup into the Thoth himself. Thoth ever uses the dash to escape, all of a sudden Volcanic Eruption is going to be able to close that gap to the back line. The damage output, the raw burst potential that Pele has is going to be hard for the enemy mid laner to deal with as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also think Pele is one of those characters who we don't really see as often as I would expect, you know. Like, I personally think that Pele is one of the best junglers out there at the moment.
Yeah, if your name's not Lasbro, you're not really locking it in too often. I think the downside of Pele is that volatility of her. If she has a poor early game, if she gets outscaled, if the enemy jungler is playing a god that brings a similar level of pressure and pulls a lead, there's not really very many comeback potential or comeback mechanics built into Pele. She's a god that, like Thanatos, that is completely reliant on pulling ahead, being able to be that guy who says, alright, I walked into the team fight, I deal more damage than you. Sure, everything I'm doing is incredibly risky, but I'm going to win the DPS race every single time. If Rapio falls behind, that's just not going to be the case.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that, and even following through that analogy even further, at least with Thanatos, if you fall behind, you can kind of turn into this kind of hybrid, tanky execute bot to kind of substitute for what your role should be, which is, I'm a DPS you down, but we'll have to see. I'm looking at the solo lane as well, Mifflin. Now, last time you said about it being a wet noodle fight. This time around, one of them is wet and one of them is a noodle, and they are going to be fighting.
Yeah, it's Jormungandr in general kind of fits this role of, I'm not going to lose lane, I certainly won't die, World Serpent's a really good survival tool. It's interesting to see Rapio hovering this side of the map right now, especially just because the kill potential on the Creed is going to be incredibly low. I would have liked to see him try to hover around duo lane to make up for the weakness that we saw earlier, Davey getting forced into using his beads off a blink from Draco Marino. Now, Davey's going to be in a lot of trouble. There's a ton of kill potential in the Papis' duo lane, just because there's a Cupid over there. So you would expect to see Pika Renuubs try and recuperate some of those losses or even put some pressure on themselves to try and strip away the beads from Cupid and make it a little bit more risky for them to play up this far, literally on the tier 2 tower at 3 minutes. And we were talking about it earlier, the only guy who plays Pele is Lasra, and Lasra's the king of the 2-minute/level 3 jungle duo lane gank. Surprising to see Rapio not try and make use of that very good moment in time where Pele might just be the strongest god on the map.
Yeah, I gotta echo your statement there, and we do see him starting to move over now, but Warchi and Draco Marino already starting to back away. Rapio just decided that he wanted to get those back camps more than he wanted to try and alleviate some of this pressure, and I mean, I guess I can see wanting to get that extra farm, but like you said, I think a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it seemed like Rapio kind of pathed aggressively through the mid lane into that left side jungle, immediately gets spotted out. Chekio says, hey guys, by the way, Rapio's trying to gank you, maybe don't stand on their tier 2. And that's exactly what happens. Warchi and Draco Marino back off. But meanwhile, Davey and Alka take that opportunity to say, okay, they're leaving, let's pick up some additional farm. They tick over to level 5. Those beads are rapidly coming back up for Davey. So that critical point where the Papis had a huge advantage is really slipping away. I'd say they've got about 15 seconds left, and even then, Davey's got his ultimate, so Fields of Love really not that big a deal at this point. So duo lanes return back to a state of equity.
And that's exactly how Pikarinoobs are going to want to have it. The last 2 games, I think we've seen Pikarinoobs really have this early pressure in this lane, so it's a bit strange to see them in the opposite side of that situation. Looks like Pikarino is forced to beads out there. The Watery Grave does set up for the Awilog Shot very nicely, but thanks to a quick beads there, and I'm not even really sure how he was able to dash away through all those continual knockups, but he is able to do it, and thanks to that, it's going to be just fine. Does hit a double bomb, and Chikio might try and find a Chikio snipe here, but looks like he's just going to charge it for the threat.
Yeah, shouts to Pikarino, because if I'm him, I get hit by Watery Grave, I'm immediately panic beadsing for the dash, but he holds onto it knowing that Marcus was hovering in the jungle. He might have to use it to avoid that gravity surge. Had he done it even a second earlier, he would have lost out on his life. So that's good trigger discipline from the Agni there to maintain his own life, especially considering he had no backup from his team. My man was getting dove 1 versus 3 inside of his tier 1 tower at 6 minutes, while Alka was kind of hovering the left side jungle and Rapio was over finishing boots or something. So shouts to Agni, good stuff, well played, but now he's in a critical position as well. His beads are down, he's in the 3v3, which is where we're going to likely see Marcus and Draco Marino spend the majority of their time from this point forward as we have rapidly approached that 6-minute mark.
Well, Draco Marino could be in trouble, but luckily Davey, a little bit uncharacteristically of those last 2 games, misses the final shot there on a target who he really should have connected on. Now it's Marcus looking to find something, but the double blink, the counter blink there from Rapio going to find him safe. Chatching in is Ulka, but not quite able to find the pluck, so Warchi's going to be just fine. Forced to go under the water as the Crocodile Man. Final judgment off the mark as well there from Cheeky, but the bombs are going to be pretty good. The dash through from Pikarino, getting aggressive into 3 people. Not a good idea, Pikarino. Marcus going to pick up first blood, and now Davey, under some duress, does have the bead still, so could potentially find his way out, but further step over, Marcus is going to secure number 2 on the board for Papis.
Man, right after I get done gassing up the boy Pikarino, he's going to go ahead and dash in like that onto Chekio. The dash doesn't even have kill potential there. We saw it that it did make contact. I mean, had Chekio stood in it the entirety of the time, he may have fallen there. It seems like Pikarino is putting a lot of trust in Davey to find those auto attacks to finish off that kill. Unfortunately, Davey was out of the Astral Arrows, so he wasn't able to auto attack through the wave. So Chekio makes it out for free. Pikarino loses his life, as does Davey, because he's forced into taking an engagement that it seemed like he didn't want any part of anyway. One misplay is all it takes to separate these two teams. Now the Papis have established the first lead of the game, and if history's any indicator, that's a big deal.
For sure, 2K here about 8 minutes into the game. It might not seem all that much, but with the Papis, even the smallest little lead could lead to, well, the end of the game. And looks like Rapio looking to maybe counteract some of that as Warchi's going to get aggressed onto here. Fields of Love is going to force Davey up into the ultimate. Down he comes, and now, thanks to Volcanic Lightning, Davey's going to be able to escape with his life. Unfortunately, Warchi can't say the same. The Nene Kappa nearly being able to finish off the life of the ADC, but now it's the rest of the team walking in. Alka tries to come in for some support, but forced under the water just as quickly. Does manage to come out and get back out, but the Divine Judgment not quite going to be able to be on the mark there. Looks like everything should be fine here for Pika Renuubs. They pick up one of their own and onto the ADC at that.
Yeah, the 3v3 has shifted itself from mid, and now it's a 4v4 in duo. That's where every single fight has happened 9 minutes into this game, and I guess it's just going to continually work out. Now both teams have picked up a couple kills for themselves. Pikarinoobs finally get one in return and don't lose out on any of their lives because Warchi was playing a little bit over-aggressive on the enemy tier 1 tower, feeling himself off a couple of decent fights in his favor, and now I see why. He's got the Ninja Tabi already, but Creed getting caught out in the jungle shouldn't be too worried. Still has the World Serpent available to him. Rapio just doing a little damage check, seeing what he's able to accomplish there. It should return back to a state of farming. Pika Renuubs are in a position where they're going to have to continually try and make proactive plays to try and claw back this lead just a little bit, because we're starting to get to that point where Gold Fury is going to be under threat, especially considering with the Papis' draft, they have so much burn potential. And now a pick as well. Rest in peace, Davey.
Yeah, Davey's feeling the burn potential. He's just gonna... Well, he melted Mifflin. He was there 1 second and was not the next.
Yeah, it's not exactly the position you want to be put in, trying to contest those oracles completely alone. Davey, that's not your job, bro. Leave that up to the jungler. Yell at Rapio if those don't go down towards your team's favor, because if you rotate in, we see what happens, especially considering all the pressure that's already been established on that side of the map. The Papis have shown that they are willing to rotate the duo lane in numbers, 4 members, 5 members, whatever it takes, and now Alka is learning the same lesson.
Well, Fields of Love is a really big cooldown to get out of there, especially if it's only in trade for Under the Waters. I think that's definitely a win in favor of Pikarinoobs. Sure, Alka's going to be a lot less comfortable, but I would wager to say that Warchi's going to be even sadder not having those Fields of Love up, as Marcus looking to try and capitalize now.
Yeah, it can't be too sad without Fields of Love if your entire team is going to rotate over and make up for that weakness. Marcus and Draco Marino just hovering that side of the map again, try to make sure that we don't see anything go Warchi's way. This one Oracle finally getting addressed by one of the teams. It's been up for about a solid 2 minutes. They've left it as one, so now finally one of the teams does clear it out. We're going to be able to see it respawn and become potentially another Bastion of Vision. And this is what's happened now. The Papis have put so much pressure on this side of the map that Warchi's established a natural 1-level lead, about 1.5 in his favor, and the Heart Bomb with the recent buff to Cupid doing 25% additional damage to the wave. He can now just shoot an archer, instantly kill it, and stun out Davey if he likes to stand near it, which is going to result in a ton of poke.
And we've seen Davey be that aggressive, you know, especially in that last game, once he picks up that Iqval. That's if he's wanting to go into the Iqval again this time around. He might not do, but I think if he is, it's going to be really, really impactful for Warchi to try and pick that up. And speaking of impact, Rapio's going to get one straight to the head, and he's going to take a big spill there. in the mid lane, just on the left-hand side of that jungle. Alka trying to walk through here. Marcus doesn't have anything available, though. No ultimate. But thanks to the pluck, he is going to find Pikarino. Not too much damage going onto him. Davey up into the sky. Here he goes. 1, 2, only 3 on the mark. So, unfortunately, not able to secure that kill. Marcus escapes with his life. And that's going to be a jungler for free.
And meanwhile, Pikarino takes a ton of poke from Chekio, and mid is going to be TKO'd out as well. 12 minutes in the game, we're looking at about 2,000 gold lead in the favor of the Papis. And with the team comp that they have, the team fight potential of Warchi with Fields of Love, Chekio with the confirmation potential from Final Judgment, Marcus being an absolute menace on the map, 3-0 right now, already has Brawler's Beatstick, just finishes up the hi-rez as well. If he touches anyone with Feather Step, the damage potential is going to be huge. Feather Step plus an auto attack could very easily put Pikarino 6 feet under, which means that the Papis are in a position where they can start to push this lead into an objective. My eyes are on Gold Fury. If they get one pick, they should be running there instantly.
That's what they're just going to be looking to do, really. It's, well, like you said, it's just going to go back into a state of farm. What do you think really is the next big contention point for these two teams?
It's either going to be Gold Fury for the Papis grouping up and trying to take a 5-on-5 while they have this lead, or we're going to see the Papis group up and try and invade a buff, force a fight. If they don't get the buff, they're potentially going to get a kill, which again could open them up towards a Gold Fury. Either way, Pika Renuubs being on the back foot here are going to have to play a little bit more defensively, maintain their actives, maintain their health bars for sure, because a TKO is again going to result in a Gold Fury. Pikarino being about 50% health might just be enough to start it up.
For sure, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Papis running straight here over onto the Gold Fury. Not really anyone in position to try and deal with it other than Alka, and he's just going to get pressured out. Through the sky, Davey trying to find some arrows, but very nice leash there from the Papis. Just to back off for a half second, not let it regen too much, but also not letting Davey get any of that damage through. Really, really well played for that from Papis.
And Creed gets the rotation in first. Sobek, what are you doing, man? The gold's dead already. Alka trades out his life for nothing, and the team fight continues.
Yeah, takes a step too far forward there, and Gravity Surge is going to pluck him straight back in. Now the rest of them surging forward. Captain OT is going to be the next one to fall. Warchi falls down. Now let's follow along with Big World Cat, as he's going to look once again for this mid laner. Creed just not letting anyone have any space to breathe, and neither is Marcus, as he's going to pick up Rapio all the way at the back camps. Now it's probably going to be a tier 2 tower as well. Marcus still, as I said, not letting anyone breathe. He's looking for the speed buff.
Yeah, from bad to worse off of one misplay from Alka, just going for an aggressive play when he really doesn't have any right to. You're not fighting over anything, and he's continually doing it. He's going to lose his life again.
Alka, what are you doing? This is not the positioning that you want to have right now. You are giving Papis so much opportunity, and, well, like I said earlier, Papis are just going to take that inch and go the distance. 5 gold up right now. 5 gold. That's, yep. 5 gold.
There's a 5
points.
in there. Yeah, 5 and then 3
5 somewhere in
zeros.
there.
Yeah, and you know, 6,000
Yeah.
experience as well. The Papis are in a commanding lead. It was looking bad earlier when it was just the Gold Fury. Then it was Alka's life twice. The rest of his team dies as well. They invade the speed buff. They pick up the mid-tier 1 tower. And now the Papis with this commanding 5 gold lead, plus 6,000 experience, they can move into the Pyromancer if they so choose, and take a 5-on-5 engagement where, really, there's just about no shot that they lose it, as long as they play well around their front line. Now it's on Pika Renuubs. It's going to take some heroic plays, potentially from Rapio, getting into the back line, taking out a priority target, or even some ganks. I'm keeping my eyes on Davey. Maybe if Rapio rotates over there, they might be able to pick out Warchi. It seems like he's been left alone on an island. But Alka, man, you gotta back up, bud.
Not again! Not again! Alka's getting picked up. They did burn 3 ultimates this time. Sorry, 2 ultimates this time. Warchi just having used his on the left-hand side. So, a little bit of a better trade, but still really bad. Warchi, though, under some duress. He's going to get chased up there by Rapio, who does manage to find an answer. This is the positioning, though, talking about Alka again, that I was talking about from that first game. He is just always in places where I don't want him to be.
Yeah, you're a literal prophet, because I hadn't seen it yet this weekend, but now I see it in its full light. Alka, you got to play a little bit more passively, bud. We're about 6,000 gold down now. 3,000 of it can be directly tied back into you, just losing out on your life continually. But I like what we're seeing. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Rapio rotates over, shuts down Warchi with the help of Davey, and now Davey gets left high and dry. Rapio doesn't take risky situations. He's going to run away with his life and potentially lose it as well.
Oh, running away with it is the operative word. Sorry, you did correct yourself there right at the end, to lose it, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Rapio falls down there alongside the tier 1 here and left, very likely. Potentially pushing up to a tier 2 here as 3 members are on the left-hand side, but in the middle, Warchi looks to just about defend that tier 1 tower. I can't see how much HP it has. It has that little.
Yeah, we call that the magic pixel here in the business. It's a one auto attack from just about anyone who decides to breathe on it lightly. So I think that mid tower, yeah, it's done. It's done. It's not a bastion of safety. It might as well not exist. It's not a big deal. Good job defending it, Warchi. You just slowed down the entire enemy team, getting about 500 gold. And that's all you did, is you slowed them down. But it doesn't super matter, because we're looking at a 7, nearly 8,000 gold lead. Gold Fury respawning in the next minute is likely where we see the next fight erupt. But we've seen now that Pikarinoobs have a couple of places where they can look to try and pick up some return kills, and it's Davey and Rapio. That's the only thing that's really working out in their favor right now. And Rapio decides to go for a slightly bruiser-centric build, picking up the Sledge 3rd item after he picks up Crusher as well. When you are behind, this is a soapbox I like to hop on all the time, any form of utility, any form of defense means less and less just easy math. If you were behind 1,000 gold, go less defense. If you were down 3,000 gold, don't go any defense, because you're not getting any tankiness. You need some sort of comeback potential. Imagine had he decided to go for something along the lines of a Heartseeker or a Brawler's Beatstick to boost up his damage. He wouldn't survive as long, but he might be able to pick up a kill, and any kill that he gets is a fantastic trade in favor of him.
Potentially, but as you said earlier, you know, like, Pele is one of those characters who really doesn't have a lot of comeback potential, so maybe this is kind of Rapio's way of going, well, at least this way I can stay around and maybe look to disrupt a little bit with that 2, with a knock-up. It's got a really wide area, and look at this, because of it, he's able to go toe-to-toe with Warchi for just a little bit longer. The snipes, once again, not coming through from Davey Blink. It's like a ballet of 1s and 0s, Mifflin. Everyone's rolling 1s, critical fail, and now it's going to be Alka who's paying for it with his life.
Man, deja vu. Alka dying again. Couldn't believe it if you didn't say it. But imagine had he gone Heartseeker there. Rapio, he would have just straight up killed Warchi, and instead Alka gets dragged out of position by an attempted pick onto the Cupid, which is going to result in Alka losing his life, Gold Fury going down, Oni Fury picked up, and we're in such a commanding lead now. Level 18 on Marcus, level 18 on Creed, level 18 on Warchi. There's level leads across the board. They could just move into Fire Giant. 4 seconds left until Alka respawns, and at this point, Alka's a non-factor. He doesn't even have his second relic yet. It doesn't matter if he gets to this defense. It's not up to him.
But do we have the steal potential potentially from Pikarino? You know, he's got those bombs. He could look to find something as the fight is going to erupt. Fields of Love comes out, and there's the ultimate from Captain Oti, doing a little bit of damage to Creed, but not too much that he's not going to hesitate to go straight into that backline against 4 people and dip straight back out, although Pikarinoobs have been able to create a little bit of space from Papis and the Fire Giant. They did manage to leash them off of it. Pikarinoobs still not in a good position, and once again, Alka, what are you doing? You're all here by yourself again.
He's going to be all right this time. Final Judgment, not going to be enough damage to put him down, but he is going to have to trade out his ultimate, and he gets TKO'd. The longer this fight goes on, it's going to favor the Papis. They've got inherent healing within Cupid's kit, and now Draco Marino finding the ultimate.
I mean, Captain Oti, it felt like he was being flung halfway across the map there. He went into the stratosphere, came straight back down, landed with about as much force. He's going to go so hard down into the ground, he's finding himself an early grave, as that's going to give Papis all the excuse that they need to start up this Fire Giant.
But now there's no ultimate available for Chekio, so they're going to have to play a little bit more cautiously around the confirm. They don't want to drop it low just yet. Rama trading out his ultimate. There's the steal potential gone.
For sure, that's definitely going to be what the Papis were waiting for, but now the rest of the fight's coming through, and I don't know, Papis don't have a lot of HP to their name, but it's not going to matter when Marcus is going to be able to outdamage Rapio anyway. Now it's going to be the big kitty meow meow looking for some more damage here. Pikarino, I believe his dash is already down. Never mind, I was speaking out of nowhere there. He's going to dash away, but look at this over on the left-hand side. The Oni minions are going to pick up the Phoenix. I don't think Oni's going to be there in time.
Yeah, Odie, best of luck, bud. You're just a measly Cerberus. Those minions are incredibly tanky. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear kitty meow meow, and we're going to go back to talking about the game now. Papis continually winning out on engagements. Unfortunately for Rapio, I might have saw the coolest Willix play I've ever seen from Marcus, using Feather Step to avoid Rapio's ultimate, almost like a bullfighter or something, just jumping over it. Rapio tried to rotate back around under the Fire Giant pit to try and pick up that last hit on the Marcus. One more Feather Step puts him in the dirt. Rapio gets just about no value out. Cupid, unfortunately, wasn't able to find the Fields of Love, so it wasn't the cleanest engagement for the Papis, but it is a win nonetheless, and they can continually force these engagements around Fire Giant. We're looking at 10, nearly 11,000 gold in the lead. Yeah, I think the Papis are completely comfortable continually fighting.
For sure, and they're just going to hang around this Fire Giant. They're completely, as you said, comfortable with this Fire Giant tango. Marcus is going to get stunned out there, but Pikarino uses all 3 bombs, and look, there it is. Draco Mourinho is going to push him straight in against the wall, and Pikarino not going to feel very comfortable there. Didn't pop any relics, but is forced to dash away. Now, Papis, look at this. They're like the waves. The Papis, Mifflin, they're like the waves. They go in, and they come out. They go in,
Alka?
Get a kill, and come out. And Aka, once again, is in a bad position. Another ult dropped on him, though. Papis are using a lot to try and pick up this kill this time around. And now it could look to be a turnaround for the Pikarinoobs team, but Warchi not really too happy about letting that happen. He's going to pick up Captain Othi in his own time. Rapio now, the next person to fall nice and quickly. Marcus going to make quick work of that, picking up a double kill. Divine is this jungler here from the blue side of the map. Davey, now all by his lonesome, is going to get picked up as well, and I'm not really sure Papis have any issue maybe running just through this right side Phoenix and winning the game. Oh, never mind.
With Marcus falling down there, it would be a little bit more difficult, but notice this. The 4 members that remain group up on the side of the Papis are entirely 100% health. That's how easily they're able to win out in the team fight, and every single person that died on the side of the Pikarinoobs died individually on their own. Captain Odie gets caught out, Davey gets caught out, Rapio gets caught out, Alka's back alive, but he also died as well. I mean, it's just tough because they're unable to remain grouped because they can't win a 5-on-5 engagement. They can't really split up because the Papis are rotating around as this roaming death ball of 5. So anytime that Rapio sees an opportunity where he thinks he might be able to get into the back line, it doesn't matter. The back line doesn't exist. There's only one line on the side of the Papis, and it's a 5-man roaming death ball. Fire Giant has still refrained from dropping, but 11,000 gold, nearly 12. These fights are going to keep going the way of the Papis as long as the Pikarinoobs are willing to show up and give them to them.
Okay, but Mifflin, if they're grouped up with Creed, does that make it a giant roaming furball?
Yeah, yes, sure thing, Blazy. Alka's getting picked out again. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, well, what is there to talk about, Alka? Let's see if you've heard this song before. Alka caught out, Warchi kills him, plus an ult from Chikio. Sorry, not even an ult this time. Chikio not even deeming it worthy to drop the final judgment. He is already judged. He's already aware of what the outcome will be for Alka.
Yeah, he's been judged and found wanting, and now, with 20 seconds left on Alka, the one benefit of being level 13, 25 minutes in the game, is that you don't spend very much time in the grayscale screen. He should be able to respawn in time to get to this Fire Giant if Pikarinoobs make the mistake of showing up for it, but it seems like they've thought better of it. They want to defend that left side Phoenix, make sure that they get it coming back up pretty soon, but the Papis are going to pick up Fire Giant for all 5 members and very easily regroup and be able to attack that weakened Phoenix. It might come back, but it'll never come back the same. It's going to be about 50% health at best, and I don't think that we're going to see the Papis even wait that long to have it regen.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like a rough situation here for Pikarinoobs as Papis so menacingly storming down this mid lane. 4 members strong. It looks like Marcus is going to hang a right. potentially look to come around the side. Looks like he might find a 1v1 with Rapio here, but here they come. Papis jumping into this Phoenix now. The block from Alka's already down. It was beads out, I believe. No, never mind. It was just the Magi's Blessing, so Marcus still got that beads potential up in case he's tried to be caught out again, but looks like Papis are actually taking this a little bit carefully, potentially even waiting for the next wave to push in here.
Yeah, they're just trying to pressure out that right side, force someone from Pika Renuubs to rotate over, and now it's Marcus getting caught out. Rapio couldn't quite connect with the ultimate.
And he's going to fall down because of it. Warchi gets credit for the kill. Seems like a little bit of a miscommunication there. Davey goes up to the sky. Marcus is going to find a second kill, though. Alka once again falls down. That's going to be number 6 for the Crocodile. And now, I don't know about you, Mifflin, but this is looking pretty cut and dry to me. Papis, 5-man strong against 3 defenders. I think this is just going to be a walk it down into the Phoenix situation. Oti trying desperately to defend, but the beats is going to be good from Marcus to prevent the displacement there from Captain Oti's ult. But Titan already falling down low and didn't even get a chance to breathe. Didn't even get a chance to hit anyone with his big clubbing stick. That's going to be all over for Pikarinoobs. They're going home, Mifflin, and Papis going to progress onto the next stage of the losers bracket.
Games 1 and 2 were a valiant showing from Pika Renuubs. Game 3, we're going to strike from the records of history. We don't have to talk about it anymore. I'll see what I could do. I'll talk to Hindu Man. Maybe we make sure it doesn't even get uploaded to YouTube. All jest aside, it was a good showing. They each individually played incredibly well. Today, it was, unfortunately, the Pika Renuubs that are found wanting, and the Papis, who were honestly the favorite for that game, do come out ahead.
For sure, and well, I think we've said just about everything that we can do, Mifflin, so I'm going to pose the question to Finch. What do you think about Kitty Kitty Meow Meow?
Whoa, I'm going to choose to not answer that. Instead, I'll talk about the set Papis versus Pikarinoobs. Papis coming out on top there, and I really want to do something other than talk about Marcus yet again, but I don't think we're going to be afforded that opportunity. Instead, we must talk about this jungler here for the Papis and how well he played on this Wheelish. I know that eventually Chekio started having a good game and all that, but afforded to him by the excellent performance by Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, we literally were sitting there, jaws agape at some of these plays coming out from Marcus. I mean, I have never seen anyone get out of a fight against that. Like the fight on the right side with the Pele. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was good. It was perfect, honestly. And Marcus going 10-1-6. Clearly the leader that the Papis needed to bring them out of, well, not out of the losers bracket quite yet, but clearly charging a path right through it as they've got another one to go through later. But at the same time, man, this was a game.
It absolutely was. 10-1-6. That's like Smurf numbers. Marcus was absolutely popping off in this one. Had some great help. I think Draco played really well. Obviously, the synergy was there between him and Marcus on this Wheelish Kuzenbo pick. It's not always the easiest window to time for that ultimate to make sure you're getting it off the knock-up, off those two ultimates working together, but they were absolutely able to do it. Warchi looking good in lane 2. And I don't know what Alka did to the Papis, man, but he offended them in some way. They went after him this game like men on a mission. If he showed his face, he was going to get ulted and he was going to die.
Yeah, 50% of gravity surges this game were used on Alka, no doubt in my mind. I don't know, man, they just were able to pick him off and read him like a book. Whenever possible, they would find him and just delete him using Fields of Love, Gravity Surge, whatever need be, just making it so that this Sobek could not get to Chekio at all, let the Thoth free cast, and then everybody else is popping off too.
Hey, Alka. Yeah, I thought you were just hanging out. No, instead been pulled back in. Marcus had an excellent performance. He really all the Papis did. And I think Myth made an excellent point there towards the end is more of that synergy on display. Great ult through the wall. His great point was that Pikarinoobs, I put up a great effort here. They really did, especially in those first 2 games. I know this third one wasn't really that close. Papis kind of ran away with it, but that's often how these game 3s go. Pikarinoobs gave themselves a shot to move on throughout this tournament. They were the SOC representative. They couldn't quite pull it off this time, but certainly an SOC team to keep your eye on. Let's take a look at that bracket. You see the Papis are the ones moving on. They'll be awaiting the loser of that Belt Slap Snake Pit match. Good luck, I say to the Papis, because neither one of those are particularly fun matchups. They'd get a chance to get revenge if it were indeed Snake Pit that came down there to see them. And we have that match coming up here next. And afterwards, North America with 2 excellent matches of their own. Baskin the Boys versus GTT. Certainly one to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, the day has just begun, ladies and gentlemen. We have got some awesome Smite coming up next, and with Europe finishing off after this next set, I mean, I genuinely do not know who's going to win this one. These two teams are very evenly matched, and they've been at the top for what seems like forever.
They really have been. And you know what? Europe has this reputation for being slow-paced, Lermy. That's not been the case today. 24, 29, 26-ish, somewhere around there, 27. These have been relatively quick and action-packed games. So what I'm really trying to say is don't go anywhere. It's a quick break. We'll be right back with plenty more of the circuit playoffs.